Have you ever asked yourself, why is it so hard to change life even though we all want peace and happiness? We say, tomorrow I will start fresh. Tomorrow I will wake up early. Tomorrow I will take care of my health. But somehow tomorrow never comes, right? What if I told you, the real change does not come from big decisions, but from very tiny habits that we do every single day? Little actions, like breathing with awareness for a moment or choosing silence instead of rushing, can slowly turn into the most powerful habits of life. Think about a simple candle in the dark. One small flame may not light up the whole world, but in that dark room it gives enough brightness to see clearly. Our small daily habits are like that candle. When we nurture them, they guide us out of confusion and into peace. Welcome, dear friend, to Wisdom Woven. This place is where simple Buddhist insights are shared in the gentlest way, so you can live a life filled with calmness and meaning. Before we go further, let me remind you something important. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.3% actually subscribe. So please, if these words touch your heart, don't just listen and go away. Like, comment, share with your loved ones, and subscribe so that this circle of wisdom can reach more people. The journey we are about to start is not about perfection. It is about practice. Buddhism teaches that life is built in the smallest steps. One mindful breath, one gentle word, one kind thought. These are the seeds of a beautiful life. Many people believe happiness must come from outside, from success, money, or recognition. But the Buddha's teaching gently reminds us, happiness is a habit that begins inside. It grows from how we see, how we act, how we care for our own mind. So imagine if your morning started not with a rush to check your phone, but with just 1 minute of mindful breathing. Imagine if before eating, you paused just long enough to feel gratitude for your food. These are not grand rituals, but small habits that shift everything. In this first step of our series, think of your own life as a garden. Some habits are like weeds, quietly stealing energy. But small, mindful habits are like flowers. If you water them each day, slowly the whole garden changes. And that is the beauty of Buddhism. It does not ask you to abandon your world or become someone else. It only invites you to begin with one simple habit, today, right now. This is where our journey begins, a path of gentle but powerful habits that will carry light into every corner of your life. My dear friend, today let us sit together quietly, as if we are just two people under the shade of an old tree, listening to the breeze pass through the leaves. I will not speak to you in a heavy voice, nor with words too high or complicated. I will speak as if we are sharing a cup of warm tea, slowly, gently, letting the taste linger. You asked me once, Master, what is the first habit I should bring into my life if I want to live with peace? I smiled then, and I smile now, because the answer is very simple, so simple that many people overlook it. The first habit is to breathe, to truly breathe, not just for survival, but for living with awareness. Breathing is something we do from the moment we are born until the very end, yet we almost never notice it. We rush, we think, we plan, we worry, but we forget the breath that carries us through all of this. When you become aware of your breathing, you are like a traveler who suddenly realizes he has been carrying a lantern all along in the dark. The light was always with him, but he only noticed it when he looked closely. You see, a mindful breath is not just air moving in and out. It is like a friend who reminds you that you are alive in this very moment. If you breathe with care, you feel your chest rise and fall. You feel the coolness of the air entering, the warmth leaving, and you realize you are present, not lost in yesterday or tomorrow. It is so small a habit, yet so powerful. When the Buddha taught this, He was not giving people a philosophy to memorize. He was giving them a rope to hold on to when the river of life feels too strong. When the mind is restless, you do not need to fight with it. You do not need to scold it like a child. Just bring the mind back to the breath, softly, like calling a bird back to your hand. At first, the bird may fly away again and again. But if you are patient and gentle, it will return and rest peacefully. This is what happens when you make breathing with awareness a habit. Slowly, your mind learns to stay, to be still, to taste the present. Do not think you need a special place or a special time. You can breathe mindfully while washing your hands, while waiting at the bus stop, even while drinking water. Every moment is an opening, if you are willing. I remember a farmer once told me he found peace not during meditation in the hall, but while watering his field. He said, "Master, I breathe with the rhythm of pouring water, and suddenly the field and I are the same." Do you see, my friend, how simple it is? When you make mindful breathing your habit, you begin to discover that life is not something rushing past you. Life is here, in this breath, in this step, in this sip of tea. We often complain that time is running too fast, that days disappear, that life feels empty. But it is not life that is running. It is us who are running without awareness. Breathing brings us back. It stops the running. There is also something beautiful that happens when you breathe with awareness. The body softens. The shoulders, which often carry invisible burdens, begin to drop. The stomach, which holds tension, starts to relax. The heart, which beats so quickly in worry, begins to slow. The breath tells the body, "It is safe now, you can rest." This habit is not only for the mind, but for the body as well. The whole being finds healing in a single mindful breath. Now you may ask, "Master, how can something so small change my life?" And I will tell you, it is the small stones that build the great mountain. Do not underestimate the power of one mindful breath repeated each day. Over weeks, over months, it shapes your mind like water shapes stone. Patiently, quietly, but completely. When anger comes, do not fight it with more anger. Pause and breathe. 1, 2, 3 breaths with awareness, and you will see anger lose its sharpness. When sadness comes, do not drown in it. Sit quietly, breathe, and sadness becomes like a cloud drifting in the wide sky. It is there, but it is not the whole sky. This is how breathing becomes a habit that protects you. Once a young monk came to me, full of energy, but also full of frustration. He said, "Master, my mind runs everywhere. I cannot control it." I told him, "Do not try to control, only learn to return." And I taught him to breathe mindfully every time he rang the monastery bell. At first he thought it was childish, but after months he came back with tears in his eyes. "Master," he said, "for the first time I feel my mind resting." You see, the bell became his reminder, and the breath became his refuge. I want you to also find your small reminders. Maybe it is the sound of your phone notification. Instead of rushing to open it, pause for one breath. Maybe it is when you unlock your door. Instead of entering with scattered thoughts, take one breath before you step inside. These small moments, repeated again and again, create a habit stronger than any storm. Do not expect perfection. Some days you will forget. Some days your mind will wander far. That is natural. What matters is that you return, each time, with gentleness. Imagine a mother calling her child who has run too far ahead. She does not shout with anger. She calls softly, "Come back, my dear." That is how you should call your mind back with the breath. In Buddhism, this habit is called anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. But you do not need to remember the word. What matters is the experience. When you are with your breath, you are with yourself. You are not lost in the past, not anxious about the future, but alive here and now. And truly, this moment is enough. There is a story about the Buddha sitting with his monks. He asked them, "What do you think? Is a life of 100 years lived without awareness better, or a life of one day lived with awareness of breath?" The monks answered, "A single day with awareness is greater." And the Buddha smiled because they understood. So, my friend, if you want a simple but powerful habit, begin here. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not wait for the perfect time. Take a breath now. Feel it fully. Smile with it. This is the habit that opens the door to all others. And let me remind you gently, when you breathe, you are not only healing yourself, you are also healing the world around you. When you are calm, you bring calmness to others. When you are present, others feel seen. A single mindful breath can soften anger in a family, can bring peace to a workplace, can change the energy of a room. Never think your small habit is only for you. It is for everyone. I hope you can feel what I mean, not through my words alone, but through your own practice. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand on your chest, close your eyes, and breathe 3 times with full awareness. Let the breath cradle you, like the earth cradles the tree. That is all. From there, the journey continues, step by step, breath by breath. And if ever you feel lost, remember, you already carry the lantern. You only need to notice its light. That light is in your breath, waiting patiently for you to return. The art of eating slowly and with gratitude. My dear friend, let us talk today about something so ordinary, yet so deep, that most people walk past it without ever seeing its treasure. It is the act of eating. You may laugh and say, "Master, what wisdom is there in eating? It is just food, just a daily thing." But let me tell you, when you make eating into a habit of awareness, when you slow down and carry gratitude into every bite, then eating becomes meditation, eating becomes prayer, eating becomes life itself. When I was a young monk, I remember sitting with the elders during meals. They would lift the bowl of rice as if they were holding a sacred jewel. They did not rush, they did not chatter, they did not even look around. They were fully with the food, as if every grain of rice was the universe offering itself. At first I could not understand, because my mind was young and restless. But over time, I realized the power in their stillness. It was not just eating, it was learning how to live with presence and gratitude. In the world outside, meals are often hurried. People eat while scrolling on their phone, or watching television, or speaking loudly of business. The food enters the mouth, but not the heart. We chew quickly, we swallow without tasting, and soon the plate is empty, but the mind is still hungry. Do you see, my friend, how strange this is? We fill the stomach, but starve the spirit. That is why slowing down to eat becomes such a powerful habit, because it teaches us how to actually meet life instead of rushing through it. Imagine holding a piece of fruit in your hand, maybe an apple. If you pause before eating, you can see its color, you can feel its weight, you can smell its fragrance. You remember the tree that held it, the rain that nourished it, the soil that fed it, the farmer who cared for it. Suddenly, this simple apple is no longer just food. It is a miracle, a story of the earth in your palm. When you bite it slowly, when you taste its sweetness fully, you are not just eating an apple. You are in harmony with the world that gave it. This is why gratitude is so deeply connected with eating. Gratitude makes us see that nothing comes by itself. A bowl of rice is not only rice. It carries the sunshine, the water, the soil, the farmer's sweat, the cook's effort, the bowl maker's hands. To eat without gratitude is like ignoring 1,000 gifts placed before you. But to eat with gratitude is like bowing to the whole universe silently with each bite. One of the habits the Buddha encouraged his monks was to reflect before every meal. They would look at their food and say within themselves, "I take this food not for greed, not for pleasure, but to sustain my body, to continue my path." Such reflection turns eating from a casual act into a mindful habit. For you too, even if you live in a busy city, you can pause before your meal. You don't need long words or prayers. Just breathe, smile, and whisper, "Thank you." That alone can change how you receive your food. When you eat slowly, the body also responds in a beautiful way. The stomach is not forced, digestion becomes smoother, the brain receives the signal of fullness in time, and the heart feels lighter. How many people today suffer because of rushing their meals? They eat too fast, too much, too mindlessly. But when you practice this simple art of eating slowly, you heal your body as well as your mind. There is also joy in eating together slowly. In the monastery, meals are often silent, yet the silence is not heavy. It is a silence filled with presence. When you eat in this way with others, you feel connected, even without words. You do not need to entertain. You do not need to argue. The shared food becomes the shared breath of the community. At home too, if a family learns to eat without rushing, to chew calmly, to put down the phone, then love naturally grows at the table. I once visited a small village where people still prepared food together in the morning. They sat on the ground, cooking rice, chopping vegetables, talking and laughing softly. And when the meal was ready, they sat and ate without hurry. Each bite was honored. Even the children learned to chew slowly, to respect the food. Their faces glowed with health, but more than health, they glowed with harmony. That is the gift of making eating slowly a habit. It brings harmony within and around. Now you may ask, "But Master, my life is so busy. How can I eat slowly every day?" And I will say, you do not need to change everything at once. Begin with just one meal, maybe dinner. Sit down, no phone, no rush. Look at your food, breathe with it. Take the first bite with awareness. Even if the rest of the meal goes back to normal speed, you have already planted the seed of change. Day by day, that seed will grow, and soon your whole way of eating will shift without force. This habit also teaches us about desire. Often we eat not because we are hungry, but because we are bored, anxious, or seeking comfort. When you eat slowly and with gratitude, you begin to notice your true hunger. You realize when you are satisfied, and you stop before excess. You learn to listen to your body rather than to your restless mind. This saves you from both overeating and from punishing yourself with denial. Balance is born naturally. Eating slowly is also a mirror for how we live. If we rush our meals, we often rush through the rest of our life. If we cannot taste a single bite, how can we taste a single moment? But when you make this habit strong, you begin to see everything differently. A conversation with a friend becomes sweeter. A walk under the sky becomes richer. Even a simple glass of water feels sacred. Because you have trained yourself not to skip life, but to meet it fully. There is a story told of a monk who always took 30 chews for every bite. People laughed at him, saying he was too slow, too strict. But he only smiled and said, "Each chew is my way of saying thank you to life." Later, those who laughed realized he was the most peaceful among them. Never rushed, never angry. His habit of eating with full presence had shaped his whole being into calmness. My dear friend, when you next eat, try this. Place the first bite on your tongue, close your eyes, and chew without hurry. Notice the texture, the flavor, the feeling of nourishment. Smile gently. Say in your heart, "This is enough." If you can do this for one bite, you can slowly do it for many. And one day, your whole meal will be a meditation. And what is meditation, if not the art of being with what is, fully and lovingly? Eating slowly is not separate from meditation. It is meditation itself. Gratitude is not separate from practice. It is practice itself. These are not lofty ideas, but simple daily habits. Habits so gentle that they seem invisible, but they change everything. Do not think of this as another task, another thing to do. Think of it as a way of returning home to yourself. Every slow bite is a step back to your center. Every grateful thought is a light lit inside. Over time, this will become your natural way. Eating, breathing, walking, all will merge into a life of awareness. So let us remember, food is not only for the body, but also for the heart. To eat with speed is to forget life. To eat slowly and with gratitude is to remember life. And to remember life is the greatest habit of all. Early rising and embracing the dawn. Ah, my friend, let us sit together in the quiet of the morning, before the sun fully rises, when the world is still half asleep, and the air carries a soft coolness that touches your skin like a gentle hand. There is something magical about early rising, something that many people overlook because they chase sleep, because the bed feels warm, because the mind is already filling the day with worries before it begins. But those who rise early, even just a little earlier than usual, discover a life that the rest of the world rarely sees. The morning is like a fresh canvas, pure and unmarked, ready for the colors we choose to paint with our breath, our thoughts, our small actions. When you wake before the rush of the day, you give yourself a gift that no money can buy. Time to simply exist without demand. In the monastery, the monks would wake with the first light, not because the bell commanded them, but because they had trained their bodies and hearts to greet the dawn. The world is quiet then. The birds are singing their morning songs, and the wind carries a clarity that feels as if the universe itself is breathing alongside you. There is a peace in those moments that cannot be hurried into. It must be gently embraced, like catching the edge of a soft cloud in your hands. I remember my own first years waking early. My body protested. My mind begged for another hour of sleep. But slowly I learned to love the stillness. The streets of the village were empty. The river reflected the pale light of the rising sun, and the smell of earth and dew filled the air. Those mornings taught me more about life than years of chasing knowledge. You see, when the world is asleep, the mind can awaken. Thoughts are clearer, intentions are purer, and even the simplest breath feels deeper. Early rising is not just about leaving the bed, my friend. It is about creating a habit that tells your body and mind, "Today is a day I choose to live fully." There is a rhythm in this habit that slowly reshapes your energy, your clarity, and your focus. When others are still groaning under blankets, you are already walking gently, feeling the earth beneath your feet, noticing the sky above. And this simple act of rising early spreads through your day like a quiet river, softening your mind, slowing your heart, and opening your eyes to the beauty often missed. In the quiet morning, you can begin with nothing, just yourself and the breath. Take a moment to feel the cool air entering your lungs, to hear the gentle rustle of leaves or the soft call of birds. These small observations, if noticed fully, carry more wisdom than a library of books. To wake early is to have time to greet life slowly, without being pulled immediately into urgency or distraction. You give yourself space, and in that space, the mind grows gentle, thoughts become softer, and clarity comes like water filling a dry cup. Many people think early rising is only for the disciplined or for those who seek productivity. But that is a misunderstanding. It is not about productivity. It is about presence. It is not about getting more done. It is about feeling more awake. There is a subtle difference. When you rise early with awareness, even if you do nothing at first, the day feels longer, richer, and more alive. The sun itself seems to move more slowly, and you, for a moment, are part of its gentle unfolding. I have walked in many villages where the first light touched the rooftops and people were already stirring. But some rise with a sense of obligation, and their mornings feel heavy. The difference is not the hour, it is the heart. When you rise gently, without rushing, with curiosity and gratitude, the whole morning becomes a teacher. The dew on the leaves, the first bird song, even the distant crowing of a rooster, they all become small lessons if you are willing to notice. The power of silence in daily life. Ah, my dear friend, today we will talk about something so simple, yet so profound, that most people rush past it without ever noticing: silence. Yes, silence. Not the kind of silence that comes when the room is empty, nor the silence that feels awkward or uncomfortable, but the kind that fills your being, that touches your mind like a gentle breeze, that lets the heart breathe. Many people think silence is emptiness, a void to be feared, or a gap to be filled with words, music, or noise. But true silence is full. It is full of understanding, full of calm, full of life. I remember many years ago when I first sat in a quiet grove near the river. The water flowed softly, the leaves rustled gently, and I simply sat listening. At first, it was uncomfortable. My mind raced, jumping from thought to thought, from memory to worry, from hope to fear. But gradually, as I continued to sit, something shifted. The thoughts became like distant clouds, drifting across a wide, open sky. I realized then that silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of being fully awake, fully aware, fully here. In daily life, silence is often undervalued. We rush to speak, to explain, to react, to be heard. We fill every corner with words, notifications, and chatter. And yet, in this constant noise, we lose touch with the deeper currents of life. Our mind becomes restless, our heart heavy, and our senses dulled. But when we allow ourselves to pause, to breathe, to simply be with the quiet, we reconnect with something older and wiser within us. We remember that life is not always about doing, not always about speaking, but about being. Imagine, my friend, if you could carve out even a few minutes each day to sit in true silence. Not the silence you impose, not the silence you expect to fill with thoughts, but the silence that welcomes you as you are. In that silence, you might notice the soft beating of your heart, the rise and fall of your chest, the rhythm of your breath. You might hear a bird calling, or the distant murmur of wind through trees, or even the quiet hum of your own mind slowing down. That is not emptiness. That is life, revealed in its simplest, most honest form. Many people fear silence because it makes them face themselves. When the world is noisy, we are distracted from our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own fears. Silence strips away the distractions, and suddenly, we are left with ourselves. And this can be uncomfortable at first. You may notice anger, sadness, or anxiety that you usually ignore. But this is not danger. It is discovery. It is an invitation to befriend yourself, to understand your inner world, to tend to the garden of your mind with care. Silence is also a teacher of patience. When you sit quietly, you begin to notice the subtleties of life. The way light moves across a wall, the way a leaf trembles in the wind, the way your own thoughts come and go. You learn that life is not meant to be rushed, that understanding does not come in haste, that wisdom grows slowly, like water slowly wearing a stone. In silence, the mind learns to wait, to watch, to rest. And in this waiting, you find clarity and peace that the noise of the world can never give. There is a story I often tell the young monks. A student once complained to me, saying, "Master, I sit in meditation, but my mind is full of chatter. I cannot find peace." And I said, "Do you see the river outside? It flows even when it carries leaves, sticks, and debris. The river does not stop. You are like the river. Sit and let the thoughts flow without clinging. The silence is always there beneath the surface." Over time, the student learned that silence is not about stopping thought. It is about allowing thoughts to pass without being pulled along. In daily life, silence can be practiced in small ways. When someone speaks to you, before replying, pause. Listen fully, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Let the pause be a gentle acknowledgement, a space where understanding can grow. In meetings, in conversations, even in traffic, the habit of pausing and listening deeply, of embracing the quiet between words, transforms your experience. You begin to see that silence is not empty. It is fertile, ready to hold insight, patience, and compassion. I once walked through a crowded marketplace early in the morning. The vendors were shouting, the children were laughing, the carts were moving, the animals were stirring. Yet I noticed that when I slowed my pace and breathed with awareness, a kind of inner silence opened inside me. I could hear my own heartbeat clearly, feel the rhythm of my steps, notice the small movements of life all around. The noise remained, but it no longer disturbed me. I had discovered that silence is not about escaping the world. It is about finding calm within it. Silence also teaches us humility. When we sit quietly, we notice how small our worries often are, how fleeting our pride, how unnecessary our constant need to be right or heard. In that quiet, we begin to see life as it is, not as we wish it to be. And this seeing softens the heart, softens the speech, softens the hands. We begin to act less from ego, less from haste, and more from care, from attention, from presence. When practiced over time, silence becomes a natural refuge. In moments of stress, when the mind is tangled, when the heart is heavy, you can return to this quiet space within yourself. No one else needs to know. No one else needs to understand. Just you and the gentle rhythm of being. And in that silence, wisdom often arises, solutions appear, and the heart feels lighter. It is as if the world has been speaking to you all along, but you could only hear it when you became still. Even ordinary activities can be transformed by silence. Washing the dishes, walking to the store, folding clothes. If done with attention and quiet awareness, these tasks become meditative. You notice the texture of water, the sound of footsteps, the movement of your own hands. Life becomes richer, simpler, and more present. The small things, when experienced fully in silence, teach more than grand lectures or endless reading ever could. Many people seek silence in faraway retreats, in mountains, in temples, and while that can help, the greatest silence is within you, waiting patiently. You do not need a special place. You do not need hours of time. A single moment, a single pause, a single breath can hold the same depth. The habit of noticing the quiet, of honoring it, of returning to it again and again, transforms ordinary life into something extraordinary. There is a story of an old Zen master who rarely spoke. Students grew restless, demanding answers, seeking guidance, asking questions without end. And he would simply smile, remain silent. One day, a student asked, "Master, why do you not answer?" And the master said, The answers are in the quiet you refuse to meet. When you sit in silence, you will hear what the world is telling you. And indeed, over time, the students realized that the quiet carried all wisdom, and their own hearts became teachers. Silence also connects us to the world in subtle ways. When we stop filling the space with noise, we notice the sounds of life around us. The wind, the birds, the water, the soft footstep of a child, the murmur of conversation. And this noticing is an act of gratitude, of awareness, of love. The world is never empty. It only seems so when our minds are full of unnecessary chatter. In silence, we begin to hear life speaking to us in gentle whispers. So, my dear friend, practice the habit of silence daily. Begin with small moments. Before a meal, before a conversation, in the first minutes after waking, or just before sleeping. Sit quietly, breathe, and simply notice. Let your thoughts pass like clouds. Let your heart settle, and let the world speak in its soft, patient way. Over time, you will discover that this quiet is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is a refuge, a teacher, and a companion. Embracing silence teaches patience, clarity, humility, and presence. It allows the heart to soften, the mind to see clearly, and the soul to awaken. And even in the midst of a noisy world, this inner quiet will remain, carrying you gently, step by step, moment by moment, toward a life of calmness, wisdom, and profound peace. Walking with awareness, not in hurry. Ah, my dear friend, today let us speak about walking. Yes, walking. Not the hurried step, not the mindless shuffle from place to place, but walking with awareness, with presence, as if each footfall is a conversation with the earth itself. So many people move through life as if they are late for something, as if time itself is chasing them. They rush past trees, past rivers, past people, past themselves, never noticing the breath of life surrounding them. But when you learn to walk with attention, slowly, gently, life itself begins to unfold in ways that words cannot capture. I remember long ago, walking along the riverbank at dawn. The air was still cool, mist hovering over the water, and the reeds whispered with the wind. My mind was restless at first, thinking about the day ahead, about duties, about worries that always seemed to follow us. But I decided to put all that aside for the moment. I slowed my steps. I placed one foot in front of the other with care. And something miraculous happened. My mind began to quiet. My heart softened, and suddenly, I noticed the tiny droplets of dew on the grass, glistening in the early light. Walking became a meditation. Each step, a prayer. When you walk in hurry, you miss life. The colors blur, the sounds fade into noise, the smells disappear unnoticed. But walking with awareness, you discover that even the smallest things are full of wonder. A leaf drifting on the wind, a bird's wings catching the sun, the feel of soft earth beneath your sandals. All of it becomes vivid, alive, speaking to you in silence. And in noticing these things, your mind learns to rest, your heart learns to slow, your soul learns to breathe. Many people think that awareness requires sitting still, but walking mindfully is just as profound. You don't need to sit on a cushion to touch presence. You can carry it in each step. You may walk through a crowded street, yet if you bring attention to your steps, to your breath, to your senses, the world transforms. The chatter, the noise, the chaos, they remain, but you are not carried away. You walk like a river flows, aware yet effortless, present yet relaxed. I remember speaking to a young monk who said, "Master, I cannot find calm when I walk. My mind runs faster than my legs." And I smiled and said, "Then slow your legs and your mind will follow." Begin by noticing the ground under your feet, the lift and fall of each step, the rhythm of your own body moving. The mind loves rhythm, and when you honor the body, the mind calms. Slowly, with patience, he learned. Each walk became a practice, each step a teacher, each breath a companion. Walking with awareness is also a practice of humility. When we hurry, we often act as if the world exists only for us, as if our steps alone matter. But when we slow down, when we walk carefully, we notice others, we notice the trees, the wind, the earth supporting us. You realize how much of life is not about you, and in that realization, the heart softens and pride fades. Even a small gesture of careful walking, noticing, respecting the space you move through, becomes a practice of love and humility. There is a story I like to tell. A wandering monk was walking through a forest and met a traveler rushing past him, muttering about being late. The monk asked, "Why do you hurry?" The traveler replied, "There is much to do, and I cannot waste time." The monk smiled and said, "But what is time if you never meet it?" The traveler did not understand. Later, as he tripped over a stone and fell, he realized the monk was right. In hurry, he had missed everything. The birds, the sun, the earth, the gentle rhythm of his own feet. Walking with attention is meeting life, step by step. Even in the simplest moments, walking mindfully teaches us about impermanence. Each step is unique, never repeated, and yet we often walk as if steps are meaningless. When we notice each movement, each sensation, we begin to see the fleeting nature of life. The breeze that touches your face will change in the next moment. The leaf on the path will fall unseen again. And yet, in that awareness, there is a deep joy, a gentle peace, because we are alive to witness the present, to walk fully with it. Walking slowly and with awareness also nurtures patience. You may want to rush, to get somewhere faster, to complete tasks before others, to win or achieve. But the earth does not hurry. The river does not rush. The sun rises in its own time. By moving in harmony with this natural pace, you cultivate patience within yourself. Your mind becomes less anxious, your heart less tense, and even your steps feel lighter. The simple act of slowing down becomes a bridge to living more fully. I often walk early in the morning along village paths, observing the people starting their day. Many hurry with heavy baskets or children in tow, speaking quickly, thinking quickly. But some walk slowly, noticing the way their steps touch the ground, the way their breath moves in and out, the way the morning unfolds. There is a beauty in this, a quiet dignity. And it reminds me that walking is not just a physical act, it is a spiritual practice, a way to carry presence into the world. Walking with awareness teaches us to see deeply, not superficially. When we move quickly, the mind schemes over the surface of life. We see shapes, colors, objects, but we miss the essence. When we slow down, we notice textures, subtleties, the play of light and shadow, the rhythms of sound. Life becomes a rich tapestry, full of detail, full of wonder, full of moments to cherish. Even a simple walk down a street can become an adventure, a meditation, a lesson in attentiveness. There is also a gentle connection to breath in mindful walking. As you step, notice how your lungs expand, how your chest rises and falls. The mind often races ahead, but by returning attention to the rhythm of body and breath, you anchor yourself in the present. Walking becomes a dialogue between body and mind, a gentle dance of awareness. Even the hurried heart begins to slow. Even the restless thoughts begin to soften. I recall teaching a young student who always rushed from task to task. One day, I asked him to walk slowly with me in the monastery garden. At first he laughed, thinking it would be easy. But as we moved step by step, noticing flowers, stones, and the soft earth underfoot, he became quiet. His shoulders relaxed, his eyes softened, his mind seemed to stretch. When we stopped, he whispered, "Master, I never realized walking could feel like this." And I said, "When you move with awareness, even the smallest step becomes a meditation." Walking with attention also nurtures gratitude. When you notice the ground that supports you, the air that nourishes you, the sun that warms you, gratitude naturally arises. Each step becomes a reminder of life's abundance, even in the simplest things. We often take for granted that we can walk, that the world is alive, that we are part of it. But mindful walking reminds us to honor life, step by step, breath by breath. Even in crowded spaces, mindful walking is possible. You can walk among others without losing awareness. You notice their presence without intrusion. You respect the space you share. And you notice your own body moving gently through the environment. There is a harmony in this, a quiet rhythm that does not disturb, a presence that does not impose. In this way, walking becomes a way to practice compassion, patience, and attentiveness toward all beings. Walking slowly also reveals our inner patterns. We notice tension in our shoulders, heaviness in our steps, tightness in our chest. By observing these sensations without judgment, we learn about ourselves. Walking mindfully becomes not just a journey outside, but a journey inside. We meet our fears, our impatience, our restlessness, and gently, step by step, begin to soften and release them. There is a story I heard from an old wandering monk. He said, "I have walked thousands of miles, and yet it is the walk itself that taught me the most. Each step teaches patience, each stone teaches balance, each tree teaches presence. I do not walk to arrive, I walk to be awake." And indeed, this is the essence of walking with awareness. It is not about where you go, but how you move, how you feel, how you notice, and how you inhabit each moment. So, my friend, let your steps be gentle, your pace unhurried, your mind attentive. Let each footfall remind you of life's rhythm. Let each breath accompany you like a friend. Walking is not just movement. It is meditation in action. It teaches presence, patience, gratitude, humility, and joy. The simple habit of walking with awareness transforms ordinary life into a quiet celebration of being alive. Even if the world demands haste, even if tasks press upon you, even if worries crowd your mind, remember that a single mindful step, taken slowly, can restore balance. Step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment, you return to yourself, to life, to presence. And in this simple, gentle way, walking becomes a practice that carries into every other part of your life, teaching you how to meet the world with calm, clarity, and love. The habit of deep listening. My dear friend, today we explore something that is often overlooked, yet it holds the power to transform your life quietly, softly, and completely. It is the habit of deep listening. So many people think they are listening, but most of the time, our ears hear words while our minds are elsewhere, jumping ahead to what we will say next, or thinking about our own worries, or replaying old conversations. True listening is different. It is gentle, patient, and awake. It is an art, and like all arts, it is learned slowly, step by step, breath by breath. I remember walking one evening along the river, sitting under a great old tree, listening to the water flowing. At first, I was distracted by my own thoughts, by small worries and to-do lists. But I reminded myself to simply listen, not to respond, not to judge, not to analyze, just to hear. And slowly, a quietness arrived, a subtle clarity. The river spoke in its own way, Not with words, but with rhythm, sound, and presence. I realized then that deep listening is not only about others, it is also about life itself. When we practice listening deeply, we begin to notice that everything communicates, not only people but the world around us. The wind in the leaves, the soft footsteps of an animal, the shifting light on a wall, even the silence between words. All these are forms of language if we are attentive. Most people rush through life, missing these messages, missing the tenderness in small things. Deep listening allows us to slow down, to see, and to feel life as it truly is. I often tell my students, listening is not about waiting for your turn to speak. Listening is giving the other person a space that is safe, quiet, and whole. It is allowing them to be fully seen and fully heard. Many people find this strange at first because our culture teaches us to respond quickly, to be right, to win conversations. But real listening does not belong to any argument, does not try to fix, does not judge. It simply attends, gently and fully. I remember one young monk who came to me frustrated. He said, "Master, I try to listen, but I keep thinking about what I should say next." And I smiled and said, "Ah, then you are not really listening, are you? You are half present, half elsewhere. Close your mouth, soften your mind, and let your ears open. Do not think about responding. Think only about being here with them." Over time, he learned that listening is a practice, and with practice, his relationships, his understanding, and even his own peace deepened. Deep listening also teaches patience. Most of the time, when we hear someone speak, our mind races ahead, anticipating the end, interrupting, or planning solutions. But when we listen fully, without rushing, we give ourselves a chance to truly understand. We discover the subtleties in their words, the spaces between sentences, the pauses that speak louder than words. In this silence, empathy arises naturally. We begin to feel what the other person feels without trying to fix it, without judging it, without reacting. Even ordinary conversations transform when we practice this habit. Imagine speaking with a friend, and instead of planning your answer, you simply listen. You notice their tone, their pauses, the way their eyes shift, the trembling in their voice, or the soft laughter that hides a deeper feeling. You discover layers you never noticed before. The conversation is no longer just words. It becomes an exchange of presence, a meeting of hearts. This is the power of deep listening. There is also a subtle magic in listening to yourself. Often, we are so distracted by noise, people, and tasks that we never truly listen to our own hearts. Deep listening requires turning inward, sitting quietly, noticing your own thoughts and feelings, and letting them be without judgment. You hear your own fears, your joys, your doubts, and your longings. You learn to be gentle with yourself in the same way you are gentle with others. And in this, you begin to live more honestly, more fully, more tenderly. Listening is also a form of presence. When someone feels heard, truly heard, they know they exist fully in that moment. They feel seen, valued, and safe. And when you listen like this, without distraction, without hurry, you too feel more present, more alive. You realize that life is not about the words alone, but about the space between them, about the rhythm of attention, about being fully awake together. I remember a story of a wandering monk who met a village elder. The elder spoke, not with urgency, not with wisdom to impress, but simply sharing his day, his worries, his small joys. And the monk listened. He did not interrupt, he did not comment, he did not judge. He just listened. When the elder finished, he smiled and said, "Thank you for listening. I feel lighter, though I have said nothing important." The monk nodded, realizing that true listening can heal, soothe, and bring clarity even without advice, without solution, without words of wisdom. Deep listening also transforms conflict. Most arguments arise because people feel unheard, unseen, misunderstood. If both sides practice even a small amount of genuine listening, tensions dissolve naturally. There is space for understanding, space for empathy, space for the heart to soften. Listening does not require agreement, but it opens a door for connection, a bridge across difference. And often, the simplest act of listening speaks louder than any explanation, any reasoning, any persuasion. Even in silence, listening exists. You do not need someone speaking to practice this habit. The world is full of sound, movement, and life waiting to be noticed. The wind, the river, the footsteps, the murmur of the city, even the beating of your own heart. These are all teachers if you listen. And the more you listen, the more the world speaks in gentle, unexpected ways. The more you listen, the more your own life feels rich, full, and awake. Listening is also an exercise in humility. When we listen, we acknowledge that someone else's experience, their words, their feelings, matter as much as our own. We step out of the center, even if just a little, and give space. And in giving space, we often find that we receive far more in return. Wisdom, patience, understanding, connection, and sometimes love itself arrives simply because we are present, simply because we hear without interruption, simply because we care to notice. The habit of deep listening can be practiced anywhere. On a crowded street, in a quiet room, under the shade of a tree, or in the bustling market, you can train your mind to listen fully, even to the sound of someone speaking in the background, to the rhythm of traffic, to the chirping of birds, to the distant laughter of children. You can be fully present. The habit grows slowly, and with patience, it becomes second nature, and life becomes more vivid, more rich, more tender. Even when listening to people who speak quickly, who are angry, who are frustrated, who are confused, this habit helps. Instead of reacting, instead of interrupting, you soften. You breathe. You let the words wash over you. You listen to the emotion behind the words, to the fear, the longing, the joy, the pain. And often, in the calmness of your attention, the other person begins to find clarity. And even you begin to understand them in ways words alone cannot convey. I often teach my students to listen to themselves first. Sit quietly. Notice the thoughts that arise, the emotions that stir, the aches and joys of your body. When you listen to yourself, you create a calm mind, a gentle heart, and a clear presence. And when your inner world is attentive and present, your ability to listen to others grows naturally. Deep listening is a habit that begins within and blossoms outward. Even small moments carry the opportunity to practice. When you wait in line, notice the person next to you. When someone asks for help, listen to what is unsaid as much as what is said. When your child speaks, even if distracted, listen fully. When your partner shares something trivial, give them attention. In these small acts, listening becomes a way of life, a gentle habit that nurtures understanding, empathy, and love in ways subtle and profound. When we listen deeply, even the most ordinary words reveal wisdom. A simple sentence may carry layers of meaning, unspoken feelings, subtle truths. But if we do not listen, we miss these treasures. Listening becomes a way to uncover the richness in life that rush and noise conceal. It is not only about hearing words. It is about sensing presence, recognizing feeling, honoring being. So, my dear friend, cultivate the habit of deep listening. Begin with a few minutes each day, noticing sounds around you, noticing words, noticing your own breath. Allow yourself to be present without judgment, without hurry, without expectation. Let each moment of listening teach you patience, gentleness, humility, and clarity. Over time, this simple habit will transform your interactions, your relationships, and even your own heart. When practiced with care, listening becomes meditation in motion, a bridge between hearts, a pathway to understanding and compassion, a quiet door through which wisdom enters softly. And you will discover, step by step, breath by breath, that the world speaks in whispers if only we are willing to listen, truly listen, deeply and tenderly. The power of gratitude in everyday life. Ah, my dear friend, today I wish to speak to you about something so simple, yet so profound, that it has the power to transform your life quietly, softly, and completely. It is gratitude, not the kind that comes in a card or a polite thank you when someone passes you the salt, but the deep, gentle, everyday gratitude that whispers to your heart in the ordinary moments of life. Most people think gratitude is about big gestures, big events, big gifts. But true gratitude lives in the small, unnoticed corners of our days. I remember sitting quietly one morning in the monastery garden, watching the sun rise slowly over the trees. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, birds sang in the distance, and a soft warmth touched my face. At first, I did not notice these things. I was thinking of my duties, my teachings, my tasks for the day. But then, I stopped. I inhaled slowly, deeply, and a feeling of quiet thankfulness arose, almost by itself, for the air, the warmth, the sound of the birds, the stillness. In that moment, life itself felt like a gift, ordinary yet miraculous, simple yet profound. You see, gratitude does not require grand achievements or great fortune. It begins with noticing, with attention, when you pause, even for a single breath, and notice the gentle support of the earth beneath your feet, the kindness in someone's smile, the comfort of a warm meal, your heart softens. Gratitude is not something you do. It is something you allow. It arises naturally when you meet life without rushing, without complaining, without comparing. I often tell my students, gratitude is a practice, like sitting quietly or walking mindfully. It is a habit that trains the heart to see what is already present, instead of always chasing what is absent. Many people live in a constant state of lack, always wanting more, always dissatisfied, always restless. But when we cultivate gratitude, we learn to rest in the fullness of what is here, what is now, even if it seems small or ordinary. This does not mean we do not aspire, we do not dream, we do not grow. It means we do not ignore the life that already cradles us. I remember one young monk who came to me, restless and unhappy. He said, "Master, I am always discontent. No matter what I have, I want more." I asked him to sit quietly each morning and notice 3 small things for which he felt thankful. Sometimes it was the warmth of the sun, sometimes a single flower, sometimes the smile of a fellow monk. At first, he thought it was silly, but slowly, over weeks, something shifted. He began to feel lighter, calmer, more present. His mind, which had been like a storm, softened like mist over a river at dawn. Gratitude also teaches us humility. When we notice the countless small gifts life offers, the food we eat, the water we drink, the people who care for us, the air we breathe, we realize that we are not alone, that we are supported by countless unseen hands and hearts. The earth nurtures us, the sun warms us, the water sustains us, and so many beings, human and not, participate in the miracle of our lives. To notice this is to bow quietly, gently, and allow humility to enter the heart without effort. Even in difficult times, gratitude can be our anchor. Life is not always easy, not always fair, not always comfortable. Yet even in pain, in struggle, in uncertainty, there are moments to notice, to cherish, to hold softly. Perhaps it is the presence of a friend. Perhaps it is a quiet evening. Perhaps it is a single breath that comes without strain. Gratitude in such moments is not about ignoring suffering. It is about acknowledging the small, sustaining lights that remain even in darkness. I remember a traveler who came to me, heavy with grief. He had lost much and felt abandoned by life. I asked him to sit quietly each day and notice one small thing that brought even a flicker of warmth. A cup of tea, the wind on his face, the smile of a child. At first, he could not find anything, but slowly, as days passed, he discovered small treasures hidden in the folds of ordinary life. His heart, which had been closed, began to open. Pain remained, but it no longer consumed him. Gratitude became the soft light that guided him through shadow. Gratitude is also a teacher of attention. When we are thankful, we notice life more deeply. We see the colors, the textures, the sounds, the movements that we normally pass by unnoticed. A simple walk becomes vivid. The feel of earth underfoot, the scent of flowers, the gentle sway of trees, the whisper of wind. Each moment is enriched by the awareness that life itself is a gift. This is the quiet magic of gratitude. It does not add, it reveals. Even in our interactions with others, gratitude transforms. When you notice the efforts, the presence, the kindness of those around you, your heart softens, your words soften, your actions soften. You do not take for granted the work of others, the support you receive, the love that quietly flows. And in this noticing, relationships deepen, misunderstandings dissolve, and the ordinary act of living together becomes a practice of gentle appreciation. I recall teaching a young monk who constantly complained about small inconveniences. I asked him to start a gratitude journal, not with grand events, but with 3 simple things each day that brought him even the smallest joy. Initially, he resisted, but gradually, he began to notice the warmth of sunlight on the temple floor, the sweetness of a ripe fruit, the sound of laughter in the courtyard. Over time, his complaints grew quieter, his mind calmer, and a subtle joy began to rise in his heart. Gratitude, like water on dry earth, slowly nourished him. Gratitude also helps us accept impermanence. Life is fleeting. Moments, people, circumstances pass. When we notice them with gratitude, we hold them gently without clinging. We cherish them without grasping. We experience them fully without fear. A smile, a conversation, a sunset. These things come and go, and yet in gratitude, they leave traces of warmth, tenderness, and love in the heart. Even when life seems mundane, gratitude transforms the ordinary into something sacred. The cup of tea in the morning, the soft pillow at night, the aroma of fresh bread, the laughter of children playing in the street. These are treasures if we open our eyes and hearts to them. Life, in its simplest moments, is full of wonder. Gratitude allows us to see it, to taste it, to live it fully. I often tell my students, gratitude is not about saying thank you as a habit. It is about noticing life, allowing life to touch you, and letting that touch awaken your heart. It is an inner bow to the unfolding of existence. When practiced regularly, this habit becomes a gentle rhythm, a quiet song of the heart that permeates everything. You carry it in your steps, in your words, in your thoughts, in your very presence. Even in adversity, gratitude nurtures resilience. When we focus on what sustains us, what nourishes us, what comforts us, even if small, we discover strength. The heart that recognizes small blessings is less weighed down by misfortune, less consumed by fear, less trapped in anger or regret. Gratitude is a soft armor, flexible yet protective, gentle yet strong. There is a story I cherish about an old monk who lived simply, with barely enough for his daily needs. People asked him how he could be so content with so little. He said, "I am rich in ways the eye cannot see. The sun rises, the wind blows, the water flows, the birds sing, and I am alive to see it. What more could I want?" And indeed, he was rich. Not in wealth, but in awareness, in presence, in a heart that noticed and received the small, sustaining gifts of life with gratitude. Gratitude also deepens our connection with others. When we acknowledge the efforts, the presence, and the love of those around us, relationships flourish. A simple thank you from the heart, a gentle recognition of care, a mindful attention to the quiet contributions of others. These gestures ripple softly, gently, and often in ways we cannot measure. Gratitude is a bridge, connecting hearts, softening walls, and opening doors to kindness. Even when we are alone, gratitude can be a companion. We can notice the warmth of sunlight on our skin, the rhythm of our breathing, the gentle beating of our heart. We can honor the simple existence of life within and around us. Gratitude in solitude is not loneliness. It is presence, it is awakening, it is the quiet celebration of being alive. I often encourage my students to practice gratitude at the start and end of each day. Morning gratitude awakens the heart to the possibilities of the day, even in small things. Evening gratitude reminds us of the richness of what is past, the fleeting beauty of moments, the tender gifts of life that often escape notice. Over time, these small practices accumulate, like water filling a quiet pond, until the heart is overflowing, calm, and luminous. And so, my dear friend, cultivate gratitude as a daily habit. Notice, breathe, soften, and allow life's small gifts to touch you. Let each moment, each sound, each movement, each smile, each breath remind you that life is tender, fleeting, and miraculous. Gratitude transforms ordinary existence into a quiet celebration, a gentle meditation, and a heart that is open, alive, and awake. The beauty of simple routines. My dear friend, today I want to share with you something so ordinary, yet so profoundly powerful, that we often overlook it in our busy lives. The beauty of simple routines. You see, many people think routines are boring, repetitive, or even constraining, but in truth, they are gentle guides, quiet teachers, and anchors for the heart. When we embrace simple routines, we do not trap ourselves in habits. Instead, we create a rhythm, a steady flow, a safe harbor in the ever-changing river of life. I remember once sitting with a young monk who was restless, always moving, always chasing something just beyond reach. He complained, "Master, life feels chaotic. I can never find peace." I smiled and said, "Have you tried sitting with the rhythm of life, noticing the small steps that repeat every day, the tiny acts that are always there?" At first, he did not understand, but slowly, I guided him to simple practices. To rise with the sun, to wash his hands mindfully, to drink tea with awareness, to sweep the courtyard with care. At first, he thought it trivial, almost silly. But over time, these small repeated acts became a kind of quiet meditation, a gentle anchor for his mind, and a softening of his restless heart. You see, routines are not about doing something mindlessly. They are about noticing, about presence, about allowing ordinary acts to carry us into mindfulness. When you wash the dishes, you wash the dishes fully. When you pour water into a cup, you pour with attention. When you walk down a hallway, you walk slowly, feeling the floor beneath your feet, the air around you. Each moment, simple as it seems, becomes an opportunity to return home to yourself, to come back to awareness, to find calm in the flow of the ordinary. even in the simplest routines, there is a profound teaching. The rising and setting of the sun, the turning of the seasons, the daily flow of meals, conversations, and tasks. They all remind us that life moves in cycles, that change is constant, yet there is stability in repetition. When we notice this, the mind becomes quieter. Anxiety softens. We begin to see that not every day needs to be extraordinary to be meaningful, that there is deep richness in the ordinary, if we only pay attention. I often tell my students, routines are like the gentle streams that shape the landscape. At first, they seem small, unimportant, repetitive. But over time, they carve valleys, nourish gardens, create paths. So too, simple routines shape the heart, cultivate patience, and open space for stillness. The power of a simple routine is not in doing something spectacular. It is in doing something small, consistently, with awareness and care. I recall an old story from the monastery. A monk, many years ago, would sweep the temple courtyard every morning. He did it not for recognition, not for praise, not even for cleanliness, really. He swept because it was his way to be present, to connect with the earth, to touch the world gently and mindfully. And over time, those who observed him noticed the calm radiating from his presence, the subtle peace that seemed to hover in the courtyard. The act itself was small, but its effect, unseen and quiet, was immense. Simple routines also teach us patience. In a world that glorifies speed, instant results, and constant stimulation, returning to a simple rhythm is a form of gentle rebellion, a quiet reminder that life does not need to be rushed to be lived fully. When you rise early to drink tea quietly, when you tend a small plant daily, when you write a line in a journal each night, you are training your heart to stay steady, to return again and again to the present moment, and to find depth in what seems mundane. Even difficult routines, the ones we resist or dislike, have wisdom to offer. Cleaning, organizing, walking, simple exercises. These may feel repetitive or tiresome at first, but when approached mindfully, they cultivate resilience, presence, and even gratitude. You begin to notice that even tasks that seem burdensome are opportunities to practice patience, awareness, and humility. The act itself becomes a teacher, revealing the subtleties of mind, body, and spirit in ways that grand experiences often cannot. I remember a student who struggled with frustration. He despised daily chores and thought them meaningless. I asked him to sweep the floor for a week, paying attention to each movement, each breath, each sound. At first, he groaned, resentful. But after several days, something shifted. The mind quieted, small irritations melted, and he began to see the grace in the simple act of connecting with the earth through movement. The routine, once tiresome, became a meditation, a moment of grounding, a gentle practice of presence. Simple routines also teach us continuity. Life moves, often in unpredictable ways. Challenges arise, plans change, emotions fluctuate. But simple routines, small daily acts repeated consistently, provide a thread of continuity that anchors the mind. Even when everything else seems uncertain, there is a rhythm to come back to, a familiar cadence that reminds us we can return to ourselves. That stability exists within and around us. There is a quiet beauty in tending to small things with care. When you wash a cup, sweep a floor, fold a cloth, prepare a simple meal, you are participating in life with attention. The ordinary becomes sacred, the small becomes precious, and the repetitive becomes a gentle rhythm that guides the heart. Each simple act, when performed with mindfulness, is a quiet offering, a bridge between the mundane and the meaningful. Even our mornings and evenings, the routines we often take for granted, are rich with possibility. Rising, breathing, stretching, washing, walking, eating. Each can be done with awareness. Each can be a meditation in motion. These repeated acts train the mind to notice, the heart to soften, and the spirit to open. The rhythm of simple routines becomes a canvas upon which we paint our awareness, patience, and gentle presence. I often remind my students, do not underestimate the power of a daily routine. It is the quiet river that smooths stones, the steady wind that shapes trees, the slow light that warms the earth. Life is not built in moments of drama alone. It is built in the countless ordinary moments that we touch fully, consciously, and with care. The smallest acts, repeated with intention, become the foundation of a life lived deeply. Even in a world that praises extraordinary achievements, extraordinary experiences, and rapid progress, there is great wisdom in embracing the ordinary. By returning to simple routines, we practice humility, patience, and presence. We discover that we do not need to chase endlessly to find contentment, that peace grows quietly in the small, repeated acts that anchor us to life itself. There is a story I cherish about an old Zen master who rose every morning before dawn. He brewed tea slowly, walked in the garden, swept the courtyard, and sat quietly in meditation. To an outsider, his life seemed repetitive, perhaps even dull. But in that rhythm, he discovered a depth of peace, a clarity of mind, and a spaciousness of heart that could not be found in dramatic experiences or restless striving. His days, simple as they were rich with awareness and joy. Simple routines also foster gratitude. When we return to small acts each day with care, we begin to notice the subtle gifts of life. The warmth of sunlight on the skin, the softness of a pillow, the gentle sound of water, the steady beat of our heart. In these ordinary acts, we find quiet treasures that often go unnoticed. Gratitude grows from the rhythm of returning, the attention to what is already here, the appreciation for the simple moments that sustain life. Even in solitude, simple routines offer companionship. They create a rhythm that reminds us we are alive, that we have presence, that life continues steadily even when the mind is restless or the heart is heavy. Rising, walking, eating, tending to small tasks. These acts, repeated with awareness, provide comfort, structure, and gentle support for the heart and mind. And so, my dear friend, embrace simple routines with awareness, with care, and with presence. Let the ordinary acts of your days become meditations, small practices of mindfulness that guide your heart and mind. Notice the rhythm, the repetition, the gentle flow of life, and find in it a quiet, enduring peace. Life in its simplest moments holds profound beauty. Routines, when approached with awareness, transform ordinary existence into a gentle, sustaining meditation that touches every part of your being. The art of letting go. Ah, my dear friend, today we speak of a subject that touches everyone, though few understand it fully, the art of letting go. Many people carry burdens as if they were precious treasures, holding tightly to pain, regrets, old grievances, and disappointments, thinking that somehow keeping them close will protect them. But in truth, the tighter we hold, the heavier our hearts become, and the less we are able to breathe freely in the present moment. Letting go is not about giving up, nor is it about forgetting. It is about recognizing that some things are not meant to stay, that life flows like a river, and that trying to dam its current only causes suffering. I remember a young seeker once came to me, his eyes full of worry and sorrow. "Master," he said, "I cannot stop thinking about my past mistakes. They haunt me. I feel trapped, and no matter what I do, I cannot be free." I asked him to sit with me under the old cherry tree and watch the petals fall. Each petal drifted gently to the ground, carried by the wind, not resisting, not clinging. I said, "Do you see how the tree lets go of its petals? It does not fight them. It does not demand them to stay. And yet, the tree continues to bloom again and again, full of life. So too, your heart must learn the gentle art of releasing." At first, he did not understand, but slowly, as he returned to this simple observation each day, he began to notice the tension in his shoulders soften, his mind become clearer, and his heart lighter. Letting go requires courage, though it seems gentle. It asks us to face what we have been holding and see it clearly, without denial or suppression. Often, we cling to past hurts because they have become part of our identity. I am this anger, we think. I am this fear. I am this regret. And yet, these are not truly who we are. They are experiences, passing clouds in the sky of consciousness. When we learn to watch them, to notice their presence without being swallowed by them, we find the first step toward freedom. I often tell my students, letting go is not losing something. It is creating space. Space for peace, space for clarity, space for joy. When the mind is cluttered with what no longer serves it, it cannot see what is real, what is here, what is now. And so we practice slowly, one moment at a time, one breath at a time, one thought, one feeling, one memory, noticing it, acknowledging it, and then softly releasing it, like a leaf floating away on a stream. Sometimes, letting go is of people, situations, or dreams that did not unfold as we hoped. We resist, wishing things were different, wishing others would change, wishing life would conform to our desires. And in that resistance, we suffer. But when we let go, we allow reality to be as it is, without forcing, without grasping, without resisting. This is not easy, and it takes practice, because the mind loves to hold on, to replay old stories, to feed familiar patterns. Yet even a small moment of true letting go, acknowledging a thought and allowing it to pass, brings relief, a small opening in the heart, a taste of freedom. I remember a woman who carried a long-standing resentment toward a friend who had hurt her deeply. She would replay the event over and over, sharpening the memory until it burned like fire in her chest. I asked her to imagine the memory as a bird in her hand. She held it tightly at first, unwilling to release it. "What happens if you let it go?" I asked. She hesitated. Slowly, trembling, she opened her hand, and the bird flew into the sky. She wept, not because she had lost something, but because she realized the weight she had been carrying for so long was finally lifted. In that moment, she understood the subtle power of letting go, the gentle liberation of the heart. Letting go does not always happen at once. It is often a slow, tender process, like the ocean gradually eroding a stone. We may try to release something, but it returns in memory, in feeling, in thought. And each time it arises, we practice again, gently noticing, softly releasing, without judgment, without self-blame. Over time, the heart learns to breathe more freely, to hold less, to soften its grip on what cannot remain. Even our expectations, the quiet, persistent demands we place on ourselves and others, can become burdens. We wish life would follow a certain pattern, that people would behave as we hope, that the world would align with our desires. And when it does not, we tighten, we grasp, we resist. Yet when we let go of these expectations, we open space for life to unfold naturally. We begin to notice the beauty of the unexpected, the gentle lessons hidden in what is, rather than what we wish it to be. I often remind my students, letting go is not about being passive. It is an active engagement with reality, a mindful acknowledgement of what is, and a conscious choice to release what is no longer needed. It is a strength disguised as softness, a clarity born from simplicity, a freedom that comes from presence. The mind, when uncluttered by attachment, sees clearly, hears deeply, and feels profoundly. It is not empty in a hollow way. It is spacious, open, and alive. There is a story of a young man who lost a treasured object. He searched for it desperately, day and night, and when he could not find it, he became consumed with frustration and grief. One day, an elder approached him and said, "You are holding so tightly to absence that you cannot feel presence. See what is around you, see what remains, and let go of what cannot be held." At first, he resisted, but slowly, he practiced letting go. And in that practice, he discovered that life, rich and full, was always here, waiting to be noticed. He had been carrying his own suffering like a heavy stone, and release, though difficult, became a gift. Even memories, the sweetest and the bitterest, can be released with care. We do not erase them. We do not deny them. We do not diminish their significance. Instead, we see them as clouds that drift across the sky of our mind. Some clouds bring rain, some clouds bring shade, some clouds are bright and gentle. All pass, and when we watch them without clinging, we find a peace that cannot be disturbed, a stillness that cannot be shaken. Letting go also teaches compassion, both toward ourselves and others. When we release judgment, resentment, or anger, we create space to understand, to forgive, and to accept. When the heart softens, even slightly, we begin to see that everyone is carrying burdens, everyone is clinging to what causes suffering, and everyone, in their own way, is learning the same subtle art. Compassion grows naturally when attachment loosens, because we understand the fragility and impermanence of all things, including ourselves. And so, my dear friend, remember this. Letting go is a practice, not a single act. It is a gentle, patient, tender cultivation of freedom, clarity, and peace. It is a return to presence, a quiet opening of the heart, a softening of the grip on what cannot remain. With each breath, each moment, each thought, there is an opportunity to release, to soften, to let life flow as it will, without resistance. In this practice, there is profound strength, subtle joy, and an enduring peace that touches every corner of the heart. We may fall, we may stumble, we may grasp again when fear or pain arises, but each time we notice, each time we release, we grow. Each act of letting go, however small, is a step toward a lighter heart, a freer mind, and a life lived with presence and awareness. And over time, the gentle art of letting go becomes second nature, a quiet companion that walks with us, carrying nothing, yet holding everything that truly matters. In the end, letting go is not losing life, it is gaining it. It is a quiet return to the essence of being, to the simplicity of the present, to the peace that has always been here, waiting quietly beneath the layers of attachment and grasping. And when we let go, we discover that life is not diminished, but enriched, not hollow, but full, not empty, but endlessly abundant in its gentle, flowing, present beauty. Mindful eating, mindful living. Ah, my dear friend, today let us sit together and speak about something so ordinary, yet so extraordinary, that most people pass it by without thought. We will speak about eating, but not just eating with the hands, with the mouth, with hunger. No, we will speak about eating with the heart, with presence, with awareness. You see, so many people rush through their meals, barely tasting, barely noticing, barely grateful. They eat while thinking of the past, while worrying about the future, while scrolling on their little glowing screens. And in doing so, they miss the life that is in each bite, the life that nourishes not just the body, but the mind and soul. Long ago, a student came to me, burdened with stress and illness, and he said, "Master, I eat, but I do not feel satisfied. I eat quickly, and yet I feel empty, tired, restless. I asked him to bring his bowl of rice, and together we sat quietly. I asked him to notice the grains, the aroma, the warmth of the food. I asked him to take a small bite, slowly, as if it were the first bite of his life, letting his attention rest fully on the experience. At first he laughed, thinking it strange, but after a while, his laughter softened into silence, and a gentle awareness arose. Each bite became a meditation, each swallow a prayer, each chew a conversation with life itself. Mindful eating is more than just slowing down. It is noticing the colors, textures, and smells of the food. It is feeling gratitude for the hands that prepared it, for the earth that gave it, for the sun and rain that nurtured it. It is understanding that to eat mindfully is to honor life itself, not in grand gestures, but in quiet, tender attention. The student, after days of practice, told me, "Master, I never realized food could be so alive, so full of meaning. I feel nourished, not just in my stomach, but in my heart." And this is true not only for food, my friend, but for all of life. Mindfulness is the bridge between ordinary actions and sacred living. When we wash the dishes, when we sweep the floor, when we walk in the garden, when we greet a friend, we can do it fully with presence. Life is composed of moments, often small and ordinary, and yet, when we attend to them fully, each moment becomes luminous. Eating is a simple act, yet it carries the possibility of awakening. I remember another story of an elderly woman who had been ill for many years. She could barely taste, barely chew, barely enjoy her meals. But I asked her to sit with me and eat slowly, noticing each bite, feeling the textures, observing the warmth on her tongue, feeling gratitude for her body that could still digest, still transform, still sustain her. And slowly, her eyes brightened, her energy shifted, her mind became calmer. Mindful eating, though subtle, transformed not just her meals, but her relationship with her own body, with her own life. When we eat without awareness, we consume not just food, but anxiety, stress, and distraction. Our mind races, and our body suffers. But when we eat with mindfulness, we honor the rhythm of our body, the signals of hunger and satiety, the wisdom within that knows what it truly needs. Each bite becomes a teacher, each meal a meditation, each moment an opportunity to practice presence. It is also important to notice the patterns of attachment in eating. Many people cling to tastes, to habits, to the desire for more, always more. The mind is never satisfied, always chasing, always longing. In mindful eating, we notice this tendency gently, without judgment. We may feel craving, we may feel impatience, but we return our attention to the present bite, to the simple act of nourishment. And in doing so, we cultivate balance, restraint, and appreciation. There is a subtle joy in noticing the act of eating itself. The way the food warms our body, the way our muscles and organs work in harmony, the way energy flows through us, sustaining life. When we eat with awareness, we feel a connection to the countless lives, to the soil, the sun, the water, the farmers, the cooks, the hands that carried this food to us. Eating becomes an act of gratitude, of recognition, of interconnectedness. I tell my students often, do not rush through life as you rush through your meals. Both are precious, both are fleeting, both deserve your full attention. We are often so caught in the pursuit of the next moment, the next achievement, the next pleasure, that we miss the fullness of the present. Eating mindfully teaches us patience, teaches us gratitude, teaches us the sacredness of ordinary life. Sometimes, we must also notice our emotions around food. We may eat out of boredom, loneliness, or stress. We may overeat, undereat, or eat in distraction. Mindful eating asks us to observe, not punish. We notice why we eat, how we eat, what we feel while eating. This awareness is not criticism, it is kindness. We learn to care for ourselves in a gentle, honest, attentive way. The practice extends beyond the plate, beyond the bowl, into every area of life. Even sharing a meal with others can be an act of mindful living. When we eat together, we can notice the presence of others, the shared nourishment, the conversation, the laughter, the silence between words. Mindful sharing deepens connection, fosters empathy, and cultivates harmony. We are not isolated beings. We live in relation to one another, and mindful living reminds us to honor these connections. I also encourage the practice of savoring each bite, not in indulgence, not in greed, but in full awareness. Notice the sweetness, the bitterness, the texture, the aroma. Chew slowly, swallow fully. Feel the nourishment flow into your body. It is a small, quiet miracle, often overlooked, yet profoundly transformative. In these small acts, we learn the rhythm of life, the beauty of simplicity, the peace of attentiveness. And my dear friend, when we eat mindfully, we also eat with intention. We honor our bodies as temples, our minds as instruments of clarity, our hearts as vessels of compassion. We understand that what we consume shapes more than the body. It shapes the mind, the spirit, and our capacity to be present in life. Mindful eating is the foundation for mindful living. Over time, this practice seeps into other moments. Walking becomes slower, deeper, more attentive. Breathing becomes fuller, richer, more satisfying. Talking becomes more present, listening more compassionate, seeing more clear. Life, once ordinary and unnoticed, becomes a garden of small, radiant miracles. I remember a student who had a habit of rushing through every meal, always thinking of the next task. Slowly, with patience, he began to notice each bite, each texture, each sensation. One day, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Master, I never realized life could be like this. I never realized I had been missing it." And I smiled, for this is the fruit of mindful eating, the doorway into mindful living. Presence, gratitude, clarity, and joy, born from the simplest of acts. So, my dear friend, let each meal be a meditation, each bite a teacher, each moment an opportunity to awaken. Start with awareness, deepen with patience, and let the simplicity of mindful eating nourish not just your body, but your mind and heart. In this gentle, flowing practice, the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. The mundane becomes sacred, and life itself becomes a meditation of presence, gratitude, and love. Daily reflection and the art of awareness. Ah, my dear friend, today let us sit together and talk about something very gentle, something that can quietly change the way you walk through life. We will speak about reflection, not in the heavy sense, not as a burden or a judgment, but as a soft, mindful pause at the end of each day. A simple looking back, a gentle noticing of what is past and what remains. So many people rush through life without ever glancing at the footprints they leave behind. They wake, they act, they sleep, and then the day disappears like mist. But if we take a moment to reflect, to breathe and notice, even for a few quiet minutes, the ordinary can become extraordinary, and our hearts lighter and clearer. I remember a young student who came to me, carrying a mind full of worry, fear, and frustration. He said, "Master, I feel I am always busy, but I never feel peaceful. My mind is crowded, my heart restless." I ask him to sit quietly each evening, just for a moment, and think about the day. Not to judge yourself, I told him. Not to correct, but simply to notice. At first he struggled, unsure what to see, unsure how to pause. But slowly, he began to notice small things. The kindness of a stranger, the warmth of sunlight on his face, the way he smiled at a friend, the moments he forgot to be angry. And in those gentle reflections, his mind began to settle, like water in a jar after a long shake. Daily reflection is not about changing everything or solving all problems. It is about noticing. Perhaps you were impatient with someone. Perhaps you felt sadness or joy or boredom. Notice it. Feel it. Observe how it moved through you. We often think that reflection must be profound, must be perfect, must be full of wisdom, but even the smallest noticing can open a door to understanding. Just as a single drop of water can ripple across a pond, so a quiet reflection can ripple through your mind and heart, touching places you did not realize were restless or hungry. I often tell my students, reflection is like tending a garden. You do not uproot everything at once. You notice what grows, what needs water, what needs space. You see the weeds, but gently, without harm, and slowly the garden becomes alive with care and presence. Each day is like this garden. Each thought, each action, each feeling is a seed. Some seeds bring beauty, some bring lessons. When we pause, we see them more clearly. We understand their nature, and we can care for ourselves with kindness and wisdom. Many people fear reflection because it can bring discomfort. They do not want to see the mistakes, the anger, the regrets, the missed opportunities. But reflection is not punishment. It is not a mirror to shame ourselves. It is a soft lamp, gently lighting what is past, showing us patterns, showing us choices, showing us how alive we are in each moment. Sometimes, when we look back, we see things we wish were different. And that is exactly the point. Awareness is the first step toward gentle transformation. Not by force, not by guilt, but by simple noticing. I remember another student, an elderly man who had lived many years carrying old resentment. He thought reflection would make him remember all the wrongs done to him, all the pain of the past. I asked him, "Sit with me tonight. Let us just breathe and notice." We sat quietly, and he began to notice small moments of kindness, small acts he had overlooked. He noticed the soft laughter of his grandchildren, the smile of a neighbor, the touch of his spouse's hand. And he realized slowly that even in a life with pain, there had always been light. Reflection, when gentle and mindful, can uncover the hidden warmth we often ignore. Daily reflection also invites gratitude, not in a grand ceremonial way, but in a simple human way. Perhaps today someone helped you. Perhaps the sun shone warmly. Perhaps you laughed at a small joke. Perhaps you survived moments that were difficult. Notice it. Feel it. Let gratitude rise like a soft wind. Gratitude does not erase difficulties, but it softens their weight. It reminds us that life is not only hardship, it is also tender, fleeting beauty. And reflection is not only for the mind, it touches the body as well. Notice how your body has moved today, what it has carried, what it has endured. Notice the breath, notice the tension, notice the warmth or coolness. The body remembers, often more than the mind. In reflection, we include the body as a friend, as a companion. We do not judge it, we honor it. We notice how it has sustained us through the ordinary and the extraordinary. It is important, my friend, to remember that reflection is a practice, not a task. Some days will be easy. Noticing will come naturally. Some days will be hard. The mind may resist, the heart may ache. That is exactly the practice. We return, gently, again and again. Even a brief pause, a single breath of awareness, A moment of noticing is enough. Like drops of rain filling a jar, the moments of reflection gradually fill our inner space with clarity, peace, and compassion. I often tell my students, do not rush reflection. Sit with it like you would sit with a delicate flower. Observe without crushing, notice without grabbing, feel without forcing. Let it unfold as it will. And indeed, over time, this practice transforms the way we move through the world. We notice not only what is past, but how we act in the present, how we speak, how we touch, how we see. Reflection teaches us subtlety, patience, and above all, gentleness with ourselves. Even difficult emotions, when observed in reflection, lose some of their sting. Anger softens, sadness flows without drowning, worry becomes lighter. When we reflect with awareness, we see not only the storms, but the calm spaces between them. We see that life is not only what happens to us, but also how we respond, how we notice, how we care for ourselves and others. Reflection turns ordinary days into teachers, ordinary moments into lessons of subtle, lived wisdom. There is a story I often tell. A young monk complained, "Master, my days feel empty. I cannot find meaning." I ask him to reflect each evening, to notice one thing he did with care, one moment he observed fully, one feeling he acknowledged. Slowly, his days began to fill, not with grand achievements, but with small treasures. The smile of a child, the taste of warm tea, the quiet of dawn. Reflection revealed the richness he had overlooked, the fullness hidden in simplicity. Reflection also opens the door to self-compassion. When we notice our mistakes, we do not need to punish. We can acknowledge, understand, and forgive ourselves. We can see the ways we tried, the ways we stumbled, the ways we continue to grow. Reflection becomes a mirror, not for judgment, but for understanding, and in this mirror, the heart softens. Even in our interactions with others, reflection teaches subtlety. We notice where we acted with kindness, where we spoke with care, where we could have been gentler. We notice the impact of our words, the ripples they send. And with this awareness, we learn to act more wisely, more compassionately, more fully present. Reflection is not a solitary act. It reaches out into every part of life, transforming the ordinary into mindful living. And so, my friend, as the day closes, sit quietly for a few minutes. Notice what happened, what you felt, what you learned, what you overlooked. Notice the small kindnesses, the tiny joys, the lessons hidden in mistakes. Do not rush, do not judge. Simply notice. Let the awareness settle like dew on leaves, gentle and soft, nourishing the seeds of understanding and compassion within. Reflection is the art of presence, of gentle noticing, of living fully within the flow of life. Each day offers us the chance to look back softly, to see clearly, to understand deeply, to nurture quietly. In this practice, we discover the beauty of ordinary moments, the grace in simplicity, the profoundness of living with awareness, the peace that grows when we attend to life tenderly, like a child tending to a small flame. And in this way, my dear friend, daily reflection becomes not just a practice, but a companion, a quiet guide, a source of inner light that leads us gently through the currents of life, showing us that even the smallest pause can open the heart, calm the mind, and awaken the soul to the subtle miracle of being alive. The power of letting go. Ah, my dear friend, today we sit quietly together to speak about something very gentle, yet so powerful, something that most of us struggle with every day without even realizing: letting go. People often think letting go is about giving up, about weakness, about forgetting or abandoning. But in truth, letting go is like releasing a bird into the sky and watching it find its way. It is not loss, it is freedom. And yet we cling. We clutch tightly to anger, to pain, to mistakes, to regrets, to hopes that have no roots in the present. And in our holding, we carry invisible weight, heavy like stones in a bag we never set down. I remember a young woman who came to me, shoulders tight, eyes tired, carrying so many unspoken words. She said, "Master, I cannot forget. I cannot move on. My heart keeps holding on to what was, and it makes me ache." I asked her to sit, to breathe, to notice. Notice the holding, I said. Notice how it grips, how it binds, how it limits. And then, slowly, gently, imagine opening your hands. At first, she resisted. "But Master, what if I let go? What if it disappears forever?" I smiled softly and said, "What if it flies? What if it transforms? What if it returns in a form more gentle, more kind?" And slowly, over days, over weeks, she began to practice letting go, not as an act of force, but as an act of love, starting with herself. You see, letting go is not about erasing the past. It is about releasing its control over you. It is about seeing clearly the things that cling to your heart and mind, and realizing they are not you. They are shadows, echoes, memories, fears. And shadows cannot bind the sunlight. We cannot push the past into the future. We cannot squeeze it like clay into a shape it refuses to take. We can only open our hands, open our hearts, and allow the present to breathe. I once had a student, an old man, who had lived a life full of grievances, holding tightly to moments where he felt wronged. Every day, he carried them like a stone in his chest. He came to me and said, "Master, I cannot forgive. I cannot forget. I am tired." I asked him to close his eyes and imagine each grievance as a leaf floating on a river. Some leaves drift slowly, some fast, some circle and return, but the river keeps moving. He practiced this simple imagining every morning, watching each leaf float away, feeling the tightness in his chest loosen, the heaviness of his heart lift. And one day, he told me quietly, "Master, I feel light again. I feel free." Letting go does not always mean the burden vanishes immediately. Sometimes, it is a gentle release, a patient witnessing, a soft untangling. Most people do not realize that holding on is often a form of fear. We fear loss, we fear change, we fear being without what we know, even if what we know brings pain. But my dear friend, the truth is this. Clinging binds us to what is gone, to what is imagined, to what is not fully ours. When we let go, we are not empty, we are open. Open to the present, open to love, open to the life that patiently waits to unfold. Letting go also requires kindness toward oneself. Many people try to let go by forcing, by demanding, by hating themselves for not being able to. But that is not the way. Letting go begins with gentleness. It begins with noticing the grip without judgment. It begins with soft acknowledgement of the pain, the desire, the longing. I see you. You can whisper to your own heart. I see the hurt you carry. I see the fear. And I will not hold you against yourself. I will let you flow. Letting go is not denial. It is acceptance. It is saying yes to the reality of what is and no to the chains that bind you. I remember a story about a bamboo in the wind. The wind blows hard. The bamboo bends. And sometimes it seems the bamboo will break. But because it is flexible, because it lets go of rigid resistance, it survives the storms. People are like that bamboo. Rigidity breaks us. Clinging, resisting, gripping tightly. It can harm us more than what we hold on to. Flexibility, openness, willingness to release, even just a little, can carry us through the harshest storms. Letting go is also a practice of awareness. When you notice your thoughts, your fears, your desires, your regrets, do not chase them, do not fight them, do not clutch them. Simply notice. Watch them arise like clouds in the sky. Some clouds linger, some drift quickly, some darken the sky. But the sky itself, the space in which the clouds appear, remains open, vast and unchanged. You too are that sky. Letting go is remembering that you are the sky, not the clouds. There is a delicate dance between memory and release. Memories are not enemies, they are teachers. We do not need to erase them. We do not need to vanish them. We can look at them, learn, and then release their hold. Sometimes we cling to memories of joy, sometimes of pain, sometimes of anger, sometimes of love. In all of it, the question arises, do these memories serve me, or do they bind me? Reflection teaches us this, and letting go allows the heart to breathe. Letting go is also about relationships. Often, we cling to people, not in presence, but in absence, in expectation, in attachment. We imagine the people we want, the ways they should be, the ways they should act, the ways they should love us. And in that imagining, we suffer. To let go is not to stop caring. It is to see clearly, to love without chains, to allow the other to be as they are, and to allow ourselves to be as we are. Freedom and love coexist when the grip loosens, when expectation softens, when presence replaces possession. I have seen students cry as they practice letting go, not because they fail, but because they realize how much they have clutched. And tears are good. Tears water the soul. They are not weakness, they are honesty. Letting go can be tender, even painful, because it touches the parts of us we have long ignored. But in the tenderness, in the soft acknowledgement, the heart begins to open, and slowly, very slowly, it learns the grace of release. And do not forget, my friend, that letting go is not a one-time act. It is continuous, like breathing. Every moment offers the opportunity to release a thought, a fear, a resentment, a longing. Some moments, it is effortless. Some, it is difficult. But each time we practice, each time we notice the grip and soften, we build resilience, wisdom, and gentleness within ourselves. The act of letting go transforms ordinary life into mindful living. Heavy hearts into light ones, restless minds into calm presence. Even grief, even loss, even deep sorrow can be approached with letting go. To release does not mean to forget or abandon. It means to allow life to move through, to honor what was, to cherish the memory, and yet not be imprisoned by it. Like a river flowing around stones, the current moves, shaping the banks gently, carving paths without force, carrying water freely, endlessly. The heart, too, can learn this. So, my dear friend, the power of letting go is not in what disappears, but in what appears. Clarity, lightness, openness, peace. The mind softens, the heart breathes, the spirit expands. It is a gentle courage, a quiet strength, a tender wisdom. Every time you notice a grip, every time you open your hands, every time you release your expectations, you practice freedom. Every moment of letting go is a step toward living fully, freely, and tenderly in the now. And so, as the wind moves through the trees and the river flows past the stones, may we too practice letting go. Not as a loss, but as a gift to ourselves, as a kindness to our hearts, as a reminder that life, in all its impermanence, beauty, and challenge, is best embraced with open hands, open hearts, and the soft courage to release. Embracing silence. Ah, my dear friend, today we sit and breathe together. And I wish to speak softly about something so simple, so near, yet often so ignored: silence. People fear silence. They fill it with words, with noise, with movement, as if being still were dangerous. But silence, true silence, is not emptiness. It is the gentle space where life whispers, where the heart listens, where the mind begins to soften. Many think silence is absence, but really, it is presence, pure, clear, and unadorned. I remember a young man who came to me, restless, speaking endlessly about his worries, his ambitions, his anger, his confusion. Every sentence tumbled after the other, as if talking could somehow straighten the tangles inside him. I asked him simply, "Can you sit with me without speaking for a little while?" He laughed nervously and said, "But Master, I will be bored. I will feel lost." I smiled gently and said, "Perhaps you will discover something you never noticed." And so, he sat. The first minutes, he shifted constantly, fidgeted, tried to fill the quiet with thoughts. But slowly, very slowly, he began to notice the rise and fall of his chest, the gentle hum of the world around him, the rhythm of life moving quietly through his body. In that silence, he began to meet himself. Silence is like a river flowing beneath the chatter of the world. You may not see it, you may not hear it at first, but it is there, constant, patient, carrying everything forward. When we sit in silence, we begin to sense the currents within us, the small stirrings of thoughts and emotions, the hidden corners of our heart where our true self waits, calm and unjudged. Many people are afraid of this because it reveals what they have ignored. The sadness, the longing, the unspoken fears, the buried joys. And yet, embracing silence is not to be afraid of what we find. It is to welcome it, gently, like a friend returning home. I once had a student who could not sleep because her mind raced with worries. She tried everything, counting, reading, walking, but the thoughts kept spinning. One evening, I guided her to sit in the quiet, not to chase the thoughts, not to stop them, just to notice the silence around them, the space between each thought, the gentle pause that existed naturally. At first, it was uncomfortable. Her mind protested. But with patience, she realized that in that silence, the racing slowed, the tightness in her chest loosened, and a subtle peace began to settle. Silence was not nothing. It was a balm, a soft presence she had forgotten. Silence is also a teacher of listening. So often, we hear only the loudest voices, our own, others, the constant clamor of the world. But silence allows subtlety, nuance, understanding. In silence, we hear the small sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant birds, the pulse of our own heart. We hear the quiet truths of our relationships, the unspoken feelings of those we care for, the whispers of our own conscience. And in that hearing, a kind of wisdom arises, gentle, patient, not forced, not loud, but real and steady. Many people believe silence is lonely, but the truth is that silence is companionship. It is the quiet voice of the self, speaking without demand, without judgment, without expectation. It is the space where the mind rests, where the heart softens, where life itself is felt most clearly. People fear facing this companion because they have never practiced listening so closely. They are used to distraction, to noise, to busyness, thinking it shields them from pain or emptiness. But in fact, it shields them from presence, from life. Silence, when embraced, is not emptiness. It is fullness, a fullness that holds both sorrow and joy, both calm and awakening. I recall an old monk who told me, "Master, I fear silence because it shows me my own thoughts, and they are not always kind." I said softly, "And yet, do you not notice how they also show you what you love, what you hope, what you cherish?" Silence is not just reflection of darkness. It is mirror of light too. He sat quietly after my words, and slowly, he began to smile. He realized that silence does not reveal only what is painful or messy. It also reveals what is gentle, what is good, what is real. Embracing silence is also about patience. You cannot force silence. You cannot command it to teach you, to soothe you, to open you. It comes quietly, softly, only when you are willing to be still, only when you are willing to notice. And in that noticing, even a few moments at a time, the heart begins to remember a rhythm long forgotten. The rush of life slows, the grip of anxiety loosens, the mind's constant chatter softens. Silence is not passive. It is active in its presence. It teaches, comforts, opens, and reminds. Silence is not only external, it is internal. The mind is often so full, so noisy, so busy trying to solve, to fix, to control. But inside that inner noise, there is also space, quiet and patient, waiting for attention. When we embrace silence internally, we allow ourselves to rest, to reset, to meet our own thoughts without judgment. Thoughts come and go, like clouds, like leaves on a river, and we do not need to chase them, stop them, or fight them. We only notice, breathe, and allow. Sometimes, people think that embracing silence is a kind of withdrawal, a stepping away from life. But in truth, it is a stepping toward life. It is a deeper engagement, a clearer presence, a more tender connection with all that is. When you sit in silence, you are not avoiding the world. You are preparing to meet it fully, with clarity, with calm, with a heart unburdened by constant noise. Silence renews us. It does not isolate us. Even the smallest moments of silence are precious. The pause before speaking, the quiet while drinking tea, the stillness while walking slowly, the breath held gently between inhale and exhale. These are all practices of embracing silence. They teach us the rhythm of life, the flow of thought, the patience of the heart. They remind us that the world does not always need filling with sound, that our presence alone is enough. I have seen students who could not bear silence at first, trembling at the emptiness, desperate to fill it. But slowly, as they practiced, they began to see the beauty in it. The way silence makes space for connection, for clarity, for love, for understanding. It is a gentle teacher, a subtle guide, a companion that does not demand, does not punish, does not judge. It only exists quietly, patiently, waiting for us to notice, to breathe, to be. And so, my dear friend, embracing silence is not about absence. It is about presence. Presence of mind, presence of heart, presence of life. It is noticing without forcing, listening without judgment, resting without expectation. It is a gentle courage, a patient wisdom, a tender love for oneself and the world. Every time you pause, every time you sit, every time you breathe and notice the quiet around and within you, you practice the art of embracing silence, and with it, the art of living fully, tenderly, gently, and awake. Silence holds both the storms and the sunshine, both the sorrows and the joys. It teaches us that life is not only in action, but in stillness, that depth is not only in noise, but in calm, that presence is not only in doing, but in being. And if you can learn to embrace even a fraction of this silence, to sit quietly with your breath, with your thoughts, with your heart, you will begin to see life more clearly, more gently, more lovingly. So let us sit together, softly, quietly, breathing, noticing, allowing, and in this gentle practice, remember that silence is not empty, it is alive, it is tender, it is where the heart learns to speak its quietest, most honest truths. In silence, we meet ourselves. In silence, we meet life. In silence, we meet freedom, the art of patience. Ah, my dear friend, today let us speak about something so quietly powerful that it often goes unnoticed. Yet it shapes our lives more than we realize. Patience. People think patience is simply waiting, but it is far more than that. Patience is the gentle art of being present while the world unfolds in its own time. It is not passive. It is not resignation. It is a conscious acceptance of life as it is, with all its delays, its frustrations, its small wonders, and its unexpected lessons. I remember a young woman who came to me, restless and frustrated, because her life seemed to move too slowly. She spoke with urgency, her words spilling like a river that could not be contained. "Master, why do things take so long? Why am I not where I want to be yet?" I smiled softly, because I had seen this river of impatience before in many hearts. I said, "Do you see the bamboo outside our window? It grows quietly, almost imperceptibly. Yet, beneath the surface, its roots spread deep and strong. Only when the time is right does it rise swiftly, almost magically. Life, too, moves like that bamboo." She frowned, trying to understand, but I continued gently. "Patience is learning to trust that the unseen roots of your efforts are growing too, even when you cannot see the results. Patience is often misunderstood because people associate it with weakness or delay, but in truth, it is strength. True patience is active. It involves engaging with life fully, while letting go of the need to control every outcome. It is the calm persistence of tending a garden, planting seeds, watering them, removing weeds, and trusting that with time and care, the plants will flourish. You cannot rush the growth. You cannot demand it. You can only nurture it with gentle attention. I once had a student who wanted to master a skill quickly. Every day, he came with urgency, frustrated by his mistakes, annoyed by the slow progress. I watched him for a while, and then I said, "Imagine you are polishing a stone. You rub it, day after day. Yet the shine comes slowly. Do you abandon the stone because the shine is not instant? Or do you continue with gentle care, knowing that patience brings the polish?" He thought about it and slowly began to understand. Every mistake, every struggle, every small step was part of the polishing, part of the patient practice of life itself. Patience is also a teacher of compassion for yourself and others. When you rush, you often lose sight of the subtle beauty in the process. You become frustrated with yourself for not being farther along, and with others for not meeting your expectations. But when you cultivate patience, you begin to see that everyone moves at their own pace, that every heart has its own rhythm, and that each moment, even the challenging ones, holds value. Patience allows kindness to grow, because it softens judgment and nurtures understanding. I remember sitting with an elder once, watching the sunrise, and he whispered, "Patience is the river that shapes the stone, not the hammer that breaks it." At first, I did not understand, but slowly, I saw how the slow, steady flow of life shapes character, wisdom, and even the smallest moments into something enduring and beautiful. Impatience, in contrast, is like striking the stone recklessly. It may produce sparks, but it rarely creates form or depth. Patience does not mean inaction. On the contrary, it means acting with awareness, with presence, with intention, while surrendering the need for immediate results. It is the paradox of effort and surrender combined. You plant, you nurture, you move forward, yet you do not clutch the outcome as if it were a possession. You allow life to unfold, like a flower that opens in its own perfect rhythm, not yours. I have met many who are troubled by waiting. Waiting for love, waiting for success, waiting for peace. They feel time slipping, as if the world were leaving them behind. But in reality, life is not a race. Each moment is complete in itself, and waiting patiently is not wasted time. Waiting is the quiet work of preparation, the inner cultivation of wisdom, resilience, and gratitude. In the stillness of waiting, the heart learns to grow, and the mind learns to trust the flow of life. Sometimes patience is tested in ways that feel unbearable. A student lost a dear opportunity and came to me, tears in her eyes, asking why the universe seemed unfair. I held her hands gently and said, "Perhaps the path you are on is not yet ready for the fruits you desire. Life often delays, not to punish, but to teach you endurance, to deepen your understanding, to prepare you for what is to come." Slowly, she began to see that each delay, each disappointment, was a teacher in disguise, whispering lessons of humility, resilience, and quiet strength. Patience also teaches us to be fully present. Impatience pulls us into the future, to what we want to happen, while neglecting this moment. But when we cultivate patience, we learn to inhabit the present, to notice the small joys, the subtle lessons, the gentle rhythms of life that often go unnoticed. Every breath, every step, every glance becomes a part of our practice, a part of our art of living slowly, fully, and kindly. In my own life, I have found that patience is a companion, not a burden. It walks beside me, reminding me to breathe when I am anxious, to smile when I am frustrated, to observe when I am restless. It teaches me that life does not rush, that time does not pressure, that everything unfolds as it should, if I am willing to wait with an open heart. I have also seen how patience can transform relationships. When we rush, we misunderstand. We mishear. We react too quickly. But when we practice patience, we give others space to be, to speak, to grow. We listen fully, without interrupting, without imposing our expectations. In this quiet presence, connection deepens, trust grows, and hearts soften. Patience is the soil in which love, understanding, and compassion flourish. Even in moments of great difficulty, patience is a refuge. When pain comes, when loss comes, when the unexpected unfolds, patience allows us to breathe through it, to witness it without being overwhelmed, to move through it with awareness. It does not deny the struggle, but it softens our grip. And in that softening, we find strength we did not know we had. I tell my students often, patience is not about waiting for life to happen. It is about walking with life, hand in hand, seeing each step clearly, even when the path is uncertain. And they begin to understand that impatience is like running blindly, bumping into obstacles, while patience is like walking slowly on a winding path, noticing the flowers, feeling the breeze, listening to the birds, and still arriving where they are meant to be. There are days when practicing patience feels impossible. The mind screams for instant results. The heart aches for immediate comfort. But even a small breath, a small pause, a gentle reminder that life unfolds in its own rhythm can be enough. Patience is cultivated gradually, not forced. It is a soft, persistent practice, like water wearing down rock, like sunlight slowly melting frost, like a seed growing roots before it bursts into bloom. In essence, patience is love for the present moment, acceptance of life's timing, and trust in the unseen rhythms that guide us. It is the gentle art of being steady when the world is turbulent, calm when the mind is restless, and hopeful when the path seems unclear. Each moment of patience strengthens the heart, sharpens the mind, and softens the spirit. So, my dear friend, let patience be your companion, your teacher, your refuge. Practice it not as a duty, but as a way of walking through life lightly, gently, and fully awake. Learn to breathe, to wait, to observe, to trust. With patience, you will see that life does not abandon you, that every delay has a lesson, every struggle has a purpose, every moment has meaning. Patience is not mere waiting. It is the quiet power that shapes life, nurtures the heart, and opens the way to deeper understanding, peace, and joy. Finding true balance. Ah, my dear friend, today let us wander together into the quiet, subtle art of balance. You see, so many people come to me carrying a life that leans too heavily in one direction, and they are tired, worn, and unsure why joy seems so fleeting. They push too hard in one area, perhaps work, perhaps study, perhaps chasing dreams, while neglecting the simple whispers of their heart, the gentle rhythm of the body, or the laughter of the soul. And I tell them softly, true balance is not found by striving harder. It is discovered by listening, noticing, and gently adjusting. Balance is like walking on a narrow path by a river. If you lean too much to the left, you may stumble into the water. Lean too much to the right, and you may fall into the thicket of overwork and worry. But if you move with awareness, with gentle shifts and a soft gaze, your steps become steady, and the path unfolds beneath your feet as if guiding you. Many do not realize that balance is less about perfection and more about presence. It is about learning to sway with life, not resist it, to bend without breaking, and to flow without losing your center. I remember a young man who came to me, anxious and restless, clutching a notebook full of plans. He said, "Master, I am trying to do everything, study, work, help my family, meditate. But I feel like I am falling apart. How do I balance it all?" I invited him to sit beside me under the old maple tree. The leaves were drifting slowly, carried by the wind, yet not hurried, not delayed. I said, "See how the branches sway and the leaves dance, yet the tree stands firm. That is balance. Not rigid, not forced. Balance is like this. It bends, it moves, it adapts, but it is rooted in calmness. Balance is not about equal time, as many mistakenly believe. It is not about dividing hours perfectly between tasks, people, and obligations. Rather, it is about aligning your energy, your attention, and your heart with the moment. Sometimes, work may demand more of you. Sometimes rest, sometimes presence with others. True balance is knowing that no moment is wasted, that no feeling is wrong, and that each breath, each choice, each pause is part of a flowing harmony. I have watched many who are constantly busy, moving like bees in a hive, believing that balance comes from doing more efficiently. But efficiency alone cannot create balance, for balance is born of awareness. It is the gentle practice of noticing when the heart feels heavy, when the mind feels scattered, when the body whispers for care. Only by paying attention can one adjust, shift, and return to the center. It is not about forcing life into a strict schedule, but about allowing life to breathe with you. There was once a woman who sought perfection in all things. She cooked, cleaned, worked, helped others, studied endlessly, yet she was exhausted. I said to her, "Look at this teacup. It is full of tea. Now, if you try to pour more into it, it will overflow and spill. Your life is like this cup. Balance is not adding more, but learning when to pause, when to sip, when to refill gently. Only then can the tea be enjoyed. Only then can the cup hold more without breaking." Slowly, she began to understand that balance is about knowing limits, about honoring oneself, about giving attention where it is needed and letting go where it is not. Balance is also about the relationship between effort and surrender. Many believe that balance means controlling every outcome, organizing every moment, planning every detail. But true balance is knowing when to act and when to let life unfold. It is like rowing a boat in a river. You steer, you row, but you also allow the current to guide you. If you fight the river too much, you exhaust yourself. If you surrender without effort, you drift aimlessly. Balance is the gentle rhythm of both. I have seen that balance is deeply tied to our inner landscape. When the mind is chaotic, the body tense, and the heart anxious, no external effort can create harmony. Balance begins within. It is a quiet listening to your own rhythm, a gentle adjusting of your thoughts, feelings, and actions to create a natural alignment. Meditation, reflection, and simple awareness are like tuning the strings of a musical instrument. Without this care, even the most diligent effort produces dissonance. Even nature teaches balance. Observe the river that flows swiftly over rocks and gently over sand. Observe the mountain that rises firm, yet allows the wind to pass through its trees. Observe the seasons that bring both warmth and cold, growth and rest. All things live in balance, not by force, but by acceptance, by flowing with the natural order. Humans, too, can learn from this wisdom, if only they slow down enough to notice. Balance is not static. It is dynamic, always changing, like the tide, like the wind, like the clouds moving across the sky. You may find stability today, but tomorrow life shifts, and you must adjust. Flexibility is part of balance. Being rigid, even in good habits, can become imbalance. The gentle art is to root yourself in calm awareness while allowing your life to move and shift around you. This is the essence of adaptability, the quiet wisdom that carries you through challenges without losing peace. I once guided a young student who was struggling with emotions. Anger, sadness, excitement, and fear all swirling inside him. He wanted to balance them, to suppress some, to amplify others, to control them perfectly. I said, balance is not taming the wind. It is becoming the tree that bends with it. Feel your emotions, allow them to rise and fall, but do not let them uproot you. Let your heart be the center, steady and aware, while the mind and feelings move like the wind. Slowly, he learned to let life's waves pass through him without capsizing his inner calm. Balance is deeply tied to relationships as well. When we demand too much of others or give too little, imbalance arises. True harmony in relationships comes from mutual awareness, respect, and gentle compromise. It is understanding that each person has their own rhythm, and that connecting means sometimes waiting, sometimes leaning, sometimes stepping back, and sometimes stepping forward. In this way, balance nurtures love, understanding, and connection without forcing or controlling. I often remind students that balance is not about avoiding difficulty. Life will bring challenges, and imbalance is inevitable at times. But in imbalance, there is a lesson. It is in the tipping, the faltering, the struggle, that we notice what needs attention, that we discover where we are rigid or weak, that we learn to shift and adjust. Balance is both the practice and the result of responding gently to the world and to ourselves. Even in simple daily routines, balance shows its power. Eating, sleeping, working, resting, speaking, listening, all have their place. When one is neglected, the others suffer. When one is honored, harmony grows. The mind becomes clearer, the body stronger, the heart softer. And slowly, the life you are living begins to feel like a flowing river, not a chaotic storm. Balance is the quiet rhythm that holds the day together, that lets life be both meaningful and gentle. I once met a traveler who was always rushing from place to place, seeking experiences, knowledge, and achievement. Yet he returned from every journey feeling empty, because he had no balance. I told him, "You can travel the world, yet if your heart is unbalanced, you carry chaos with you wherever you go." Balance is not found outside, it is cultivated within. Once your heart, mind, and body are aligned, every step you take, Every path you walk becomes part of the harmony you seek. Slowly, he began to notice the quiet moments, the pauses, the small joys, and realized that the true journey is not in distance traveled, but in the steady, mindful alignment of one's own being. Balance also requires forgiveness of oneself and of life. We falter, we overreach, we lean too far, we stumble. These moments are not failures. They are opportunities to notice, to adjust, to return to the center. Self-compassion is part of balance, for without kindness to oneself, no external alignment is sustainable. To live fully in balance, we must honor our limitations, celebrate our strengths, and treat each moment as a chance to practice gentleness and awareness. Even in hardship, balance can be found. When illness, loss, or confusion arrives, the first instinct is often panic or resistance. But if you take a breath, notice the present, and respond with calm and care, you restore balance within. You may not control the circumstance, but you control your response. And this, my dear friend, is the essence of the wisdom that carries through storms, the quiet stability that nurtures resilience, and the gentle art that allows life to unfold with grace. So, remember, balance is not a goal to achieve in the future, nor a state to perfect. It is a practice, a dance, a gentle awareness in each step, each breath, each interaction. It is feeling the sway of life and adjusting with calmness. It is the art of bending without breaking, of listening without judgment, of acting with presence, and of surrendering without losing oneself. Balance is patience and action combined. It is noticing, adjusting, forgiving, and trusting. It is the steady heart amidst change, the calm mind amidst chaos, and the warm awareness amidst the busyness of life. It is quiet, subtle, and powerful, like the roots of a tree that hold the earth unseen, yet giving strength to every branch and leaf. My dear friend, may you practice balance not as a duty, embracing life's impermanence. Ah, my dear friend, today I wish to speak with you about something very delicate, something many avoid thinking about. Yet it is the very heartbeat of existence: impermanence. You see, everything in life flows, moves, and changes. The clouds you watch drift slowly across the sky. They never stay the same, do they? And neither do we, nor the people we love, nor the circumstances that shape our days. It can be frightening to realize this, and yet it is also liberating if we learn to walk gently alongside it. Life does not promise permanence, yet we cling to it as if it is ours to hold. The truth is, my dear friend, the moment is all we ever truly have, and embracing impermanence allows us to live fully, deeply, and with warmth. Many people fear change. I have seen their eyes widen at the thought of a lost relationship, a lost job, or a shifting routine. They carry the weight of what was, what could be, and what might never happen again. And I tell them gently, do not fear the river's flow. It is not taking from you. It is offering movement, life, and learning. When a leaf falls from the tree, it does not resist. It drifts and lands softly, becoming part of the soil that nourishes the roots. In this, there is a subtle lesson. Life's moments, like leaves, cannot be held forever, yet each one nourishes your being, teaching patience, awareness, and gratitude. I remember a young woman who came to me weeping. She had lost a loved one and could not accept the emptiness. She said, "Master, why must everything I love disappear? Why does joy slip away so quickly?" I took her hand and led her to the river nearby. The water flowed swiftly, carrying fallen petals and branches along its current. "Do you see this river?" I asked. "It does not try to hold the petals. It allows them to pass. Yet the river itself continues, alive, moving, shaping the stones and the banks. Life is like this. Nothing remains in its exact place forever, but everything contributes to the flow. Everything leaves a mark. Everything matters. To grasp too tightly is to suffer. To flow with it is to find peace. Impermanence teaches us to cherish the present. When we know that moments will pass, each smile, each touch, each conversation becomes sacred. We begin to notice the small joys that often slip by unnoticed. The warmth of sunlight on our face, the laughter of a child, the smell of rain on the earth. These simple experiences, fleeting as they are precious because they are temporary. When we embrace impermanence, gratitude blooms naturally, for we recognize the gift inherent in every passing moment. I have watched many who resist impermanence, who hold on to past hurts or clinging hopes, and their hearts grow heavy, tight, and weary. Life demands flexibility, and those who cannot bend break easily. The art of living, my friend, is to embrace change as a teacher, not an enemy. When joy arises, we accept it fully. Without fear, it will fade. When sorrow comes, we allow it to touch us, knowing it will pass. Each experience, whether pleasant or painful, is like a note in a song, essential to the melody of your life. Even our own bodies teach impermanence. The youth and vitality we take for granted will wane. The energy we feel now will ebb, and the faces of those we love will age and change. Yet if we resist these truths, we suffer twice. Once for the inevitable, and again for our unwillingness to accept it. But if we observe gently, with soft eyes and a quiet mind, we see the beauty in every stage. The laughter lines, the wisdom in wrinkles, the slowing heartbeat. They are all part of the impermanent dance, and each has its own grace. Embracing impermanence does not mean detachment from life, as some may fear. It does not mean withdrawing from love, joy, or connection. On the contrary, it invites us to dive deeper into each experience, knowing it is precious precisely because it will not last. I tell my students, do not save your smiles, do not ration your hugs, do not delay your kindness. Give fully, love fully, live fully, because each moment is a drop of water in the vast river of life, and once it passes, it does not return. I have known many who mourn the past, carrying regrets like heavy stones. They wish to undo mistakes, to relive moments, to freeze time. But impermanence whispers softly to them, this too passes. Learn from it, carry the wisdom, but do not let it anchor you in sorrow. The river of life moves forward regardless, and our suffering grows only when we resist its current. When we accept that nothing remains forever, the heart grows lighter, more open, more capable of embracing the wonders still to come. I remember guiding a student who was terrified of losing her beloved home, her sanctuary filled with memories. She worried that change would take her security and comfort away. I said, see the sun as it rises and sets. The sky changes, the clouds move, and yet the sun returns each day. The home may change, the possessions may fade, but your awareness, your heart, your capacity to find peace and joy, these remain. Impermanence is not loss, it is transformation. It asks you to see beyond the fleeting forms to the continuity of life itself. Even relationships, the most cherished parts of our lives, are subject to impermanence. Friends may drift, loved ones may leave, connections may change. And yet, each encounter leaves a trace, a ripple in the pond of our being. By accepting impermanence, we honor the depth of these connections, treasure the moments we share, and release them gently when they must go. Holding on too tightly brings suffering, while letting go with gratitude brings freedom. Impermanence teaches humility as well. No matter how much we know, how much we achieve, how much we plan, the tides of life will alter our path. This is not to discourage effort, but to remind us that we are not the masters of all things. We can plant seeds, nurture them, and yet the harvest depends on sun, rain, and time. This understanding softens the heart, reduces arrogance, and invites a gentle respect for the mystery that surrounds us. I often tell those who fear aging or decline, look at the mountains. They rise, erode, and shift. The rivers carve paths, the wind shapes the stones. Yet each form has its moment. Each form has its beauty. Your life is a mountain. Your days are rivers. Your moments are winds. Impermanence shapes you, teaches you, molds you. Celebrate the journey rather than mourn the changes, for they are the work of life itself. Even joy, fleeting as it is, gains its brilliance from impermanence. A flower blooms brightly for only a season. A melody resonates for a few measures. A laughter echoes and fades. Were it eternal, it might lose its sweetness. But because it is brief, because it passes, we savor it, cherish it, and carry it in memory with warmth. Impermanence deepens our experience, enriches our gratitude, and calls us to presence. In facing death, the ultimate impermanence, many hearts tremble. And yet, the acceptance of death is not morbid, it is liberating. Knowing that life is limited urges us to live authentically, to love genuinely, to speak kindly, and to move gently. Death is a teacher, a reminder that every heartbeat is precious, every breath a gift, every moment a chance to practice presence, compassion, and awareness. So, my friend, to live with impermanence is to embrace life in its fullest, richest sense. It is to honor every laugh, every tear, every meeting, every parting. It is to notice that the river flows, the seasons turn, the clouds shift, and in the midst of this, your heart can remain tender, open, and aware. Embrace impermanence not as a threat, but as a guide, a companion, a gentle force that invites you to live deeply, to feel fully, and to love without hesitation. Do you see, my dear one, how impermanence is not emptying, but filling? How it does not take away, but enriches? Every passing moment is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Every change is a note in the music of your being, and every loss carries a seed for growth, for understanding, for awakening. Life's impermanence is a gift wrapped in the mystery of time, waiting for you to notice, to accept, and to dance with it gently, with awareness, with love, and with peace. My friend, may you walk alongside the flowing river of life, feeling the currents, honoring the drift of leaves, the rise and fall of tides, the shifting of clouds, and the gentle passage of time. May your heart be steady, yet open, your mind calm, yet aware, your spirit alive, yet serene. And may the wisdom of impermanence guide you, quietly and profoundly, toward a life that is rich, tender, and deeply present in every fleeting, precious moment. The gentle path to peace. Ah, my dear one, now we arrive at the final turn of our journey together, and I want to sit with you for a while, quietly, as we look at the road we have traveled. I wish to speak softly, in the language of the heart, without rushing, without grand declarations, just as friends would sit under the shade of a tree and watch the wind move through the leaves. There is something gentle in endings, even though they feel heavy sometimes. They are not only conclusions, they are moments full of reflection, full of understanding, and full of the quiet light that comes after walking a long path with care and awareness. We have spoken of life, of sorrow and joy, of impermanence, of love and loss, and through it all, I hope you have noticed that nothing truly leaves you empty. Every lesson, every moment of quiet reflection, every gentle smile, every tear you allowed yourself to shed, These things remain in you, shaping the contours of your heart, the softness of your awareness, and the depth of your compassion. Often, people think that to reach peace, one must achieve great things, acquire wisdom in grand measures, or somehow conquer all suffering. But the truth, my dear friend, is so very simple. Peace is already present. It is here in the breathing, here in the noticing, here in the quiet acceptance of things as they are. Do you remember the times we spoke of holding too tightly to the past? How it weighs the heart down and clouds the mind with what was, instead of allowing what is to emerge. Let me remind you gently. The past is a teacher, yes, but it is not a prison. You have walked with your experiences, and now you can carry their wisdom lightly, like a feather, letting it guide you without pulling you backward. The memories of joys and pains alike have formed the soil from which your presence grows. Each moment, no matter how small, has been a brushstroke in the painting of your life. And now here, in this final part of our shared path, you can look upon it with a quiet smile, knowing that every stroke, every color, every shadow and light has brought you here, alive, aware, and tender. I want to speak about kindness, because it is the thread that weaves the tapestry of a gentle life. I have seen you struggle, have seen you question yourself, have felt your heart tremble with uncertainty. And yet through all of it, you have chosen again and again to extend care, to yourself, to others, to the simple beings that share your days. There is a beauty in that, a quiet courage that does not roar but whispers, steady and unwavering. You do not have to perform grand acts to live fully. You only need to notice the small opportunities to be gentle, to be patient, to smile, to speak softly, to listen completely. These are the moments that hold the essence of life's sweetness. And let us remember impermanence, the teacher we have met so many times along the way. There is nothing fixed, nothing frozen, nothing forever waiting in one form. Clouds shift, rivers flow, seasons turn, and even our thoughts and feelings drift like petals on the wind. This is not to frighten, but to remind. The beauty of this is that it opens the heart. When we know everything changes, every joy and sorrow, every person we meet, every breath we take, we begin to live with eyes wide open, not hoarding, not grasping, but appreciating. You have seen this in practice, even in small ways, noticing the fleeting warmth of sunlight, savoring the laughter of a child, feeling the gentle hush of night settle upon the earth. All these things are small, and all these things are sacred, because they are here now, and will not stay forever. I wish to speak too of the quiet courage that has grown within you, though you may not always see it. Life has asked much of you, sometimes more than you thought you could bear. And yet here you are, still moving, still feeling, still opening your hands to the moments that come. This courage is not loud. It is not the kind that marches or shouts. It is the quiet, steadfast courage that whispers, I will breathe, I will notice, I will continue. It is in the decision to rise again when the heart has been heavy, to extend love when the world may seem indifferent, to sit in silence when noise and chaos swirl around you. This is the courage that sustains a life worth living, and it lives in you. Do not fear the unknown, my friend, for it is simply the next part of the river's path. You cannot see beyond the bend, and yet the water flows steadily, shaping the stones and nourishing the roots along the way. So too does your life move forward, beyond the horizon you cannot yet imagine. You have the choice to float with awareness, to feel the current, to notice the textures of the water against your hands, to breathe in the air with gratitude, and to trust that the river carries you with care, even through rapids, even through bends and turns you did not foresee. Life is not waiting for perfection. It is waiting for your presence, your attention, your heart fully awake in this moment. And I want to tell you something about love. Not just romantic love, but the vast, quiet love that spreads in your awareness, in your patience, in your understanding. This love does not cling. It does not demand. It simply observes, notices, and embraces. It is the love that allows a bird to land on your windowsill, that lets a child spill water and giggle, that watches a leaf drift without wanting it to remain forever. This love is your natural state, and it has been with you all along, waiting quietly for your recognition. It does not leave. It simply asks for your openness. As we come to the close of our shared journey, I wish to remind you of one very simple truth. Your life is enough, exactly as it is. The mistakes, the regrets, the joys, the sorrows, they are all woven together, forming the unique fabric of your being. You do not need to chase, to prove, to gather endlessly. Presence is enough. Awareness is enough. A soft, open heart is enough. You have learned to notice, to reflect, to breathe, and to care. That is the essence of wisdom, not the accumulation of knowledge, but the gentle awareness of life as it is, tenderly, fully, and without resistance. Let your days be filled with quiet observation, with soft laughter, with gentle patience toward yourself and others. Let your heart be tender, even when circumstances are harsh. Let your mind rest in the simplicity of now, in the rhythm of breathing, in the touch of sunlight on your skin. Let impermanence be your guide, kindness be your compass, and awareness be the lamp that illuminates your path. And when sorrow comes, as it inevitably will, meet it with gentle acceptance, knowing it will pass and leave you with deeper understanding. And when joy comes, embrace it fully, letting it ripple through every cell of your being, knowing it too is fleeting, precious, and alive. And now, my dear one, as we part from this shared time, I wish you peace, deep, abiding, simple peace. Let it settle in your chest like a soft bird, letting its wings brush gently against your heart. Let it accompany you through your days, through the small moments and the large ones, through laughter and tears alike. Remember, there is no rush. There is no need to conquer life or understand it all. There is only presence, only care, only awareness. Let that be enough. You are enough. And may your journey ahead be tender, rich, and full of the gentle light that comes from living fully, breathing deeply, and loving without hesitation. Now, carry this warmth with you, my friend, into every day yet to come, and know that life, in all its impermanence, its beauty, and its mystery, is always moving with you, always teaching, always blessing you with quiet, profound grace.